Hey, what's up, guys? Hartman here. Another Sunday. We're gonna be ripping some more drafts. Probably be doing a little bit of everything today. I think I'm gonna start it ripping a field general, but I did put a question in the poll. If you guys want to decide whether after the first draft we'll either do another just one draft, single draft, or I can do three, or I can do five. I'll do whatever wins in the poll. So go ahead, vote if you want to see me multi-table or just kind of focusing on one, whatever you guys kind of decide. But I'll count down quick. I think I'm gonna enter a field general first. I do want to get some more Superflex volume in. It's getting closer to filling. It's almost at 80%, so I'd like to get a little bit more in. But I'll count it down. So I'm gonna enter the field general in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and we're in, waiting on 7. So if anyone wants to hop in a field general, super flex, we'll start with that. And then after this, for like whether I'm multi-table or not, I can either do like the puppies, the Frenchie 5 if it's still open, or field generals. And I'll say what's up to the chat quick. What's up, Harmon? Hey, what's up, Brad Nichols? Thanks for stopping by, brother. Brew Crew. What's up, bro? Let's go, Dan Wolves. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Dan Wolves. Appreciate it, bro. Grind them one at a time, buddy. All right, yeah. I mean, that's kind of my preference would be to do just one at a time. I don't really know if people like the multi-tabling or not. You can at least pick up some EV, so if nothing else, at least you get some of that. But obviously, yeah, I kind of prefer the one at a time, but I don't mind multi-tabling. I do want to get in quite a bit of super flex, so that's kind of why I put it up there, because if it's like 5 drafts, then I'll just rip 5 of these. Um, but yeah, but I'm happy with whatever it is that wins. Done drafting during streams, we'll be there in spirit. All right, all right. Hey, I appreciate you stopping by, chatting, dropping a like. I appreciate it, man. And it's always good seeing you in the chat, always good talking to you guys. That's fun calling my Val and Kelsey. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by, bro. I mean, I don't know. Don't even worry about it. I was just kind of messing around. I don't really care too much. Because I think I had Rashi Rice anyways, right? I had Rice in Mahomes, so it's like, I don't know. I don't really care. And Kelsey is a good pick where he goes. I was just messing around. I think I said I'll remember that. And hey, if there is a chance to hit you with a little snipe, maybe I will. And then I'll have a good excuse. But it's all good. That's the advice I was given. Oh, to stop drafting for a little bit. I mean, hey, fair enough. Whatever works for you, whatever works best. And it's like, if that helps you manage it better, then I don't know, that's good. Like, I don't know. I think for like trying to manage your bankroll, just manage all that kind of stuff. It makes sense to take little breaks here and there and just be kind of like either fully out or kind of fully in. That way you don't like overdo it by being like, oh, okay, well, I can still do a little bit, and then you end up overdoing it or something. Just kind of, okay, I'm fully not drafting right now. Then I'm kind of back in drafting mode, back out kind of thing. Um, I think, yeah, that makes sense to me. Um, Let me see if anyone's in here that I notice. I don't think so. RB1 seems familiar. I feel like I've seen him in some streams like recently. I think that's it though. And then I got the 5 spot. We'll probably end up getting a QB here, just best QB available. I personally would go Lamar, Drake May, and then I'd go Jaden probably over Burrow, just because you can't even get the chase stack anyway. So I'd rather just take Jaden with his rushing upside. You can get his primary receiver stacked like pretty easily if you want to. And you can see it. I'm a little bit heavier on Jaden, or I guess this is normal exposure. I'm actually gonna have it pull my Superflex exposure quick. Select entries. All right. All right. So I'm having an update for my Superflex. We'll actually grab Bijan here. I don't have much of him in Superflex. I didn't even realize he was there for a second. But we'll grab him there over Drake May. I think it's debatable whether you grab the running back or quarterback, but I think we've kind of seen with Bijan and Gibbs moving up, like how they're valued. They're valued even sometimes over Allen. Obviously, we've seen in some like Superflex lobbies. All right, so I'm all updated now. I can close that. Let me open the board. Um, but you know, we've seen them kind of move up the board in the Superflex lobbies. I do think there is a really big gap between them and the other running backs. Obviously, like CMC and JT could compare, but they have a lot more question marks around their situation. Um, I think that makes sense because I still will get good quarterbacks back at 20 and 29. So I think just getting the anchor with Bijan makes sense. A lot of times, like if I don't go Bijan there and I go May, I end up picking a guy like Genty at 20 anyway. So I kind of end up with a similar build. So this time we'll just kind of go running back in the first round. In Superflex, since you only have to start two receivers, obviously I'm always going more like running back heavy approach. I'm trying to lock up I usually try to lock up 3 starting quarterbacks within the first 5 or 6 rounds. That's kind of my goal. I'm fine if I have 2 stronger ones kind of waiting and picking up like a Geno or a Rodgers or something as my third. I don't like to do much less capital than that at quarterback though in Superflex. And then I like to try to flex a running back. So my goal is to try to have like a stronger running back room and kind of fill in receivers kind of in the mid to late rounds. I might get like a hero receiver or something at some point, though. I think that can be a really viable strategy. Even like a double anchor receiver could work since, you know, you should hope that they hit your lineup every single week. But in general, I'm kind of pushing receivers down the board quite a bit, and then pushing tight ends down a little bit too, just because they're the lowest scoring position, so their edge is kind of even less important here. With like more total points scored with it being super flex. All right, so I think I would prefer Dart if he makes it. If not, I will probably go Purdy. I could go Amon-Ra, try to get Goff back. We'll just take Dart. I think that makes sense. I don't have a quarterback yet. I do think Dart, you know, he's comparable to these guys, but I probably won't get anyone back in that same tier. Like I might be looking at maybe Kyler Murray coming back. But there is also a chance that they kind of pick a bunch of the quarterbacks. And I think that's just like the safer pick. You know, I like Dart where he goes, tons of rushing upside. You know, should have like, you know, second year player could have pretty good upside this year. And you know, provides rushing for that kind of spike week and floor. It was funny. I was like, why is he here? Oh, 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 with the Kelsey. Stop drafting on live streams. Oh, I got you. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, let's see. I will be grinding just on stream, taking the weekend off, but we'll grind tomorrow again. Okay, yeah, and I do agree. Generally, like joining stream drafts is generally a little bit worse. I would say the better piece of advice is when like the stream draft is going, just hop into a different like contest or hop into the contest right after that lobby fills, right? Stuff like that is like, yeah, usually the little bit better play. What's up, man? I'm RB1. Good luck. Oh, what's up, man? Thanks for stopping by, brother. Appreciate it. So you're right next to me at the 2 or at the 6 spot. All right. Yeah, I knew I'd seen you around recently. I just couldn't connect the YouTube name. All right. So here, you know, Lamb and Jefferson, that is pretty good values on them. I think we just go Kyler though. I think we lock up the QB. You know, there's a good chance that by the time it comes back to me, I'm looking at like CJ Stroud, Cam Ward. So I think just locking up that second QB feels better there. Now I kind of have the option to push it a little. You know, if they give me back someone good, um, then I probably if they give me back a good quarterback, I might just go 3 straight and start with like 3-1-0-0. But I think if they yeah, I think most likely I'll take a running back is what I was gonna say. I think most likely I'll be looking at running back. But if like Baker would have came back or Shuck would have came back, I really would have been looking at them. I think now though that kind of solidifies I'm probably gonna pick a running back here at 44. We'll see how it goes though. Mike Rob, it is also good to get some of the different times draft EV. Drafting on stream, you do it with a lot of people, a lot of the same people and same things happen. So doing the random drafts here and there can help you mix it up. Yeah, no, I agree because like different like a lot of the like stream community and stuff, like yeah, you'll see some like similar guys when they're getting hype or kind of getting like, you know, falling a little. You'll see in stream drafts maybe sometimes that gets even a little bit more exaggerated, right? Like the guys get pulled up further. Sometimes you do get a little bit bigger fallers, so that can be nice if a guy's kind of negative news. Sometimes the stream room can be like overly sharp in a sense where they kind of push the guy down maybe further than you'll get in most rooms. Um, but yeah, just drafting different times of day and stuff, like, you never know. I don't know, you never know when you'll get in just, like, certain rooms you get in and maybe 3 or 4 people just aren't that good of drafters, or they just or maybe they just have, like, kind of a set plan and they have guys they really like, so they'll just push you a lot of values. Um, and yeah, you just never really know when it'll happen. I think late night tends to be pretty good, and, like, early morning tends to be more like people who do quite a bit of volume and stuff, from what I've seen, but it is definitely tough to say. Let me look here. So, I'm thinking Jeremiah Love just top running back. I wouldn't mind Breece Hall either. Uh, I don't think I grab the 3rd QB here. I think I just take top running back available, kinda like I was saying. I think that makes more sense for the build overall. Because I don't think I need to pull up, like, one of these guys. I view them all in a pretty similar tier. So we'll just go with Love there. I think that feels pretty good. Bijan, Love, Dart, Murray. That feels like a decent start to me. Um, and then RB1, Drew, Joe Burrow, James Cook, Ham Willis stack. I like that. That's a nice little stack that you can do like pretty easy, and it's like Willis kind of fits right in there. So you actually got a little bit lucky on Willis, right? Because Ward and Darnold both go before him, which isn't very normal. So yeah, that looks like a pretty good start. Fantasy Monster, Thad, hashtag I know ball. Hey, what's up, Thad? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Appreciate it. Thad, one of the supreme ball knowers in the space, knows that zero RB's been dead for years. Took us all a while to figure it out, but he always knew. Hashtag I am just lucky. Hey, well, I hope one day I can get just as lucky. But I mean, hey, luck is a big part of the game too. So if you can get lucky, I mean, if you can draft like some decent teams, then add in a little bit of luck, you're gonna have a lot of good years. All right, so we have Giants, Minnesota. Unfortunately, Neighbors goes right before me. I was probably looking at him. I really like Nico a lot. I think I go Nico. I get kind of my hero wide receiver. I think he's a pretty big leap over these other guys. I think I've said it a few times, but like top 10 points per game last 3 years in a row. I don't really see much reason why that would change. Maybe you could say a little bit more competition in that Houston offense for targets, but I think that would just increase the efficiency overall. And it's very clear he's the alpha. I don't think anyone on that team can really push Nico to be like the alpha receiver. I think a lot of his case is really just does he stay healthy or not. So he feels really good there as my wide receiver one. I'll probably be looking more at running backs here, maybe a quarterback at 68 if one I like is still available. Like, um, I don't know if like Rodgers was still there, that'd be fine. If Mendoza's still there, that'd be fine. Gino would be consideration. Rodgers goes. I wouldn't pick Brissett. I mean, that would be early anyway, but he's been falling. I probably won't even look at him at his ADP. I would probably just reach to grab Tua if I wait that long. But we'll kind of see. I'm not super concerned. I think Dart and Murray's like a really strong two. So I'm not super concerned about getting my third. Right. Um, sorry. But yeah, I think so far though, seems like a decent start. This is kind of similar to how I would normally build. Maybe sometimes I even pass on the receiver there to get a third running back or like third quarterback more often. Um, but this one, Nico seemed like a pretty good value, so we decided to just grab him there. So we're a couple picks away. I wouldn't mind Scadaboo. You can see I have 25% in Superflex. These are my Superflex exposures now, so they're all correct for this format. But I have a ton of him. I have a lot of Montgomery. I wouldn't mind Montgomery. I think Swift might make more sense, kind of more of that like spike week upside. I mean, he could have like kind of consolidate that goal line role and even take like most of the passing work. But I think Swift just plays on the better offense. I feel a little bit more confident in them. You know, I have Nico already, so maybe combining pieces of the Texans offense wouldn't have been bad. But since I don't have Stroud, that made me kind of lean towards like not doubling down on Houston, just kind of having one isolated piece with Nico. I don't mind correlating without the quarterback, but I don't know. I think in that one I just lean towards buying into the little bit better offense for my RB3. And especially because I might even go back to back RBs here. And then I want it to be a little bit more like spike week guy, I guess, so to speak. Like Swift over like maybe a steadier guy like Monty. Because if I go back to back running backs, then I'm really just hoping that those two guys can combine to fill my flex. Um, Gotta go visit the Tambourine Man. Have a good stream, Hartman. Hey, appreciate you stopping by, Brett. Have a good time visiting the Tambourine Man. Uh, Thad hates wide receivers. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. That is a OG wide receiver hater. You don't take him in the top 5 rounds or so. No, but he was right. He was right. We learned last year. What's the beverage? We got a brisk iced tea. You see it? Brisk iced tea. So, they're pretty fire. They're pretty fire. Good on a warm summer day. It's starting to get quite warm out here, so nice and refreshing on the warm day. All right. I think here Trevion would be good. Tet would also be good. I think I go Trevion. I kind of do that thing like I was saying with Swift, where Trevion maybe isn't quite as like safe, quite as steady as some. I mean, at this point, maybe he is since running backs did kind of go right before me. But just two guys who can give me massive spikes, really good offenses, and hopefully Love and Bijan are kind of carrying it every week. But Swift and Trevion can, mix up spikes to hit my flex pretty often. Um, I think that's kind of my hope there. This is a pretty like typical build from me, I would say. Like I was saying, sometimes I would pass up on the Nico there for like the third QB or something. But this is pretty close to like a typical build for me. I don't love being like quite this weak at quarterback. Like I would like to have a better third quarterback than I will get. But I think sometimes that can like really hurt your other rooms if you really try to like stack up the third QB. I think that's kind of the balancing act. Like it's nice if you can get someone back in like the 6th round or something. But it is like if the Rogers, Gino, Mendoza, if one of those guys can kind of fall back to you in the 6th round, I think that feels pretty good usually. But if you have to take them a little earlier, sometimes it can feel a little bit difficult to, I don't know, kind of like not have a weakness in another room for taking that third QB earlier. So that is, I think, kind of one of the like tougher balancing points is when do you take that third QB, like especially if you have kind of a more like, I think my top two are pretty strong overall. So when is it worth it to take that third QB and go away from like, wide receiver, running back, or like flex spots, right? Is it the lemon iced tea or iced tea with lemon? I forget which one they make now. Is it the lemon iced tea or iced tea with lemon? I think it's iced tea with lemon, right? Yeah, it's iced tea with like lemon flavor and other natural flavors. But yeah, no, I don't know. The brisks are fire though. They're fire. All right. So here I think we definitely want a receiver or Tua. I wouldn't mind Watson, DJ Moore. I think it might be worth it though to just lock up Tua. I think he'll probably be starting right away. Obviously, we had the stack with Bijan from our first round pick. But I think he's kind of the odds on favorite to start week 1. I think, he could thrive in Atlanta. There is a chance he just holds on to that job all year. Obviously, I think we've heard PPR Tyler talk about it quite a bit. That's his like Superflex, his favorite pick. But I think that there's a really good chance that he starts all year. And I think that he I think it feels very likely that Tua starting week 1 with Penix coming off the injury. I think it's very likely he starts week 1 and he might just take that job, never give it back. So Tua feels good there, and we did have Bijan, so we had pretty good correlation. Bijan catches a lot of passes, so I think that feels pretty good there. And now I feel at least secure enough in my QB room that I can stop if I want. We can look where Penix goes. I could grab like a Penix, get 4. My QB room is decently strong. I really do need help at receiver. So I don't think I can do that. I could maybe pick Penix if he falls. But if not, I'm not going to be too worried about it. I think those 3 are fine. And then I really just need to focus more on my receiver room right now. So here it'd be BTJ or Marvin Harrison. If he takes one, I'll just take the other. So, and then if not, I probably lean BTJ, I guess. Uh, yeah, I probably lean BTJ out of the 2, but either one's fine. Okay, Marvin Harrison. We get even a little bit more Arizona correlation, so don't totally love like stacking up Arizona pieces. Kind of like I was saying earlier with the Houston thing, where that was making me want Montgomery a little bit less. Stacking up the Arizona pieces, not my favorite offense, but I do think Marvin Harrison is kind of a tier above those other receivers. You can obviously argue Parker Washington. I think he's pretty divisive. I'm more willing to buy in on the Marvin Harrison kind of taking the leap thing, but I think Washington would have been kind of the only other debatable guy. I think like Lemon and DK Metcalf are pretty clearly a step down. Um, but yeah, we go Marvin there. A little bit of team correlation with Arizona, which is fine, but not my favorite team to load up on the team correlation. Uh Okay, so they used to masher the other one, and it was the best one, then they quit making it? Oh, okay, so you're talking about, like, a legit or used to make the other ones. They used to make, like, lemonade with tea in it? Hmm, that sounds pretty good. I mean, I do like the lemonade flavor, so, that sounds like it'd be pretty fire too. I don't know. I wish I was around for those days. I always see this old stuff they used to make, and I was never around for it. It's so sad. I never got to try it. Like Crystal Pepsi, I'll never get to try it. Jerry Football, let's go. Hey, what's up, Jerry? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Jerry was just on doing his 300-minute live stream for 300 subs. Yeah, he had a bunch of good guests on and stuff. Definitely go check that out if you missed it. But yeah, no, that was a fire stream. Fire stream. All right. So here, I think we go Laporta. He does have some playoff week correlation. We could grab another receiver here. Let me look at receiver kind of down the board. I think Laporta makes a little bit more sense than the receivers there because I think I like quite a bit of these receivers down the board. Like you can kind of see my exposures. The top 5, I have pretty good exposure to all of them. You could maybe argue I should have double tapped, but I think picking the Nico as kind of a hero receiver gave me the freedom to take Laporta and wait a little bit more on receiver 3. And then I'll kind of hammer him out in the next couple rounds. These 4 running backs will kind of be my main core. It'll probably be pretty light behind them. Maybe I try to find a spot for a 5th soon, but it'll likely be pretty light behind them, and I'll just be kind of pounding out receiver. Probably get kind of weaker tight ends behind Laporta. Pretty late in the draft tight ends. I mean, definitely a 90s thing. Oh yeah. I wish I see all that good stuff. Wish I had it. The cherry liquid death is pretty solid. You'd like it. Hope everyone is having a great night. And oh yeah, and hey, what's up, Corey in the house? Thanks for stopping by, brother. Appreciate it. Uh yeah, I mean we're having a pretty good night, ripping some drafts. The cherry liquid death. I might try it. I mean, I like sparkling water and stuff, so I'd probably try it. I mostly just stick with the LaCroix and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, sounds pretty good. Cherry flavor is usually pretty good. But thanks for stopping by, bro. Appreciate it. All right. So I think here I wouldn't mind Aaron Jones. Jordan Addison would be okay. He's fell a little bit in this format, so grabbing him there would be fine. If I get Aaron Jones, that would end my end my running back room with 5. I would just stop after him. I think I might lean towards the receiver over him though. We'll see what High Prim does. But I wouldn't mind getting a stacked piece with Kyler. My receiver room is pretty thin. I mean, Addison takes a little bit of a hit with Juwan showing up there, but I wouldn't mind that. My running back room is very strong. I think we just do that, and then we see if we can get like a Pittman or something back. And then if not, maybe we can get like Jordan Mason, something like that. Obviously, he's not as good as stack with your quarterbacks. He doesn't really catch passes like Aaron Jones, but there's still some decent running back options, and I really don't need to force a running back anytime soon. Like I said, my top four are very strong with Bijan, Love, Swift, Henderson. So I think I'm fine, like just pushing off running back as long as I kind of want to, and just kind of hammering out receiver here. Um, but yeah, I think it's coming together pretty good. So right now I have 3-4-3-1. I have Dart Murray, Tua, and I have Bijan, Jeremiah Love, Swift, Henderson, Nico, Marvin Harrison, Jordan Addison, Laporta. So I think overall I'm coming together pretty good. Definitely need to get some more receivers in the next couple rounds, but all in all, feels like it's coming together pretty good. We'll take a look at RB1. So he has the same structure right now: 3-4-3-1. Burrow, Cook, A Chain, Willis, Bryce Young, T Higgins, Tet McMillan. So getting some stacks there with Burrow and Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard, another stack with Bryce Young, Parker Washington, Harold Finn, Aaron Jones. I think that's coming together pretty solid. You kind of did like kind of a similar capital allocation, right? Um, and yeah, and I think it's coming together pretty good. I think like these type of builds feel good where you spend that early capital, like first 5 rounds, you're kind of all RB and quarterback, and then you start focusing on the other positions, still put in a couple more running backs throughout. I think those builds end up feeling pretty good. They feel pretty balanced by the end. All right, sweet. So we got Pittman back. That works out great. I think we just grab him there. Um, Yeah, and like running back, like Mason, I would have liked, or even like Tracy or Ja'Cory Cross Gameret. I would have considered any of those three guys. But with them being gone and it being down to Woody and Keaton, that makes it even easier Pittman pick. And I was thinking about Pittman last turn, so that works great for this team. Really happy getting him there. I think he gives me like such a safer floor and gives me some ceiling in that offense. I've said it a few times, but I think just he has the best odds to lead that team in targets. Obviously, DK will still get his, but I think Pittman is the odds-on favorite to lead the Steelers in targets, and he just goes so cheap. Like in this format, or even in regular formats, I think getting him as your wide receiver 4 or 5, it really feels good on builds, and it makes you feel a lot safer on those like bye weeks or just low weeks for other players that he can kind of be your consistent guy, like maybe 6 or 7 catches for, 60, 70 yards, something like that, and hopefully a touchdown. But he can just hopefully give you that floor. And then when he gets in the end zone, give you some spikes, gives you some decent usable weeks. Um, but yeah, I just love Pittman as late as he goes. I think he's really undervalued. Addison at 125 is great. He's going to get his for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think as cheap as he goes, I think he got pushed down maybe a little bit too much from the Juwan signing. So I definitely like getting a little bit more of him. Uh, I think Higgins here. I wouldn't mind Diggs either. Uh, yeah, I think we just go Jaden Higgins. I would go Diggs over him, but Jaden Higgins get a little bit more of that Houston, like at least this is the passing game correlation. Like I feel like it's a little different when you're betting on like the running back and receiver versus two receivers, because at least Higgins also gives me contingent upside if Nico does miss time. Where like Monty wouldn't have gained much over, if Nico misses time. I don't know how much that would have helped like Monty if I took him earlier. Where at least Higgins has contingent upside over Nico. If I do hope that the offense overall gets a little bit better, then it makes sense to, kind of do a correlated bet. Like I was saying, this is a lot like cheaper way to kind of buy a second piece in that offense. So I think Higgins feels good there. Yeah, Diggs feels great. I love picking Diggs at 150. I mean, that, I don't know. I think Diggs is so underpriced right now just because he's not signed, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be any legal trouble. And I don't know. I think as soon as he signs, he moves right up the board pretty quick. Second. Sorry. Deshaun Watson went ahead of him. LOL. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, Deshaun Watson, they think he's the starter right now, right? So I guess that's kind of the case for him. Is right now it looks like he's probably going to be the starter. I don't have a ton of faith in him. I'm trying to set up my super flexes to not bet on the Browns QB situation. That's one of my goals, I would say, in drafts. But if I had to bet on one, I'm probably taking Shadur. I do think Watson probably starts week 1, but I don't know. It's hard to believe that he can still like have it in him after looking so bad the last couple years. It's not like I mean Shadur looked pretty bad too, if I'm being completely honest. So it is really tough to bet on either of them, but I do think there's a lot more weapons there. So I'm probably betting on Shadur if I have to bet on one, but I would rather be in a situation where I'm not looking at Browns QBs. That's kind of my goal in Superflex, I'd say, in a way. All right, so here, I think I like Juwan Johnson more than Hawkinson enough that it's worth taking him even without the stack, or like taking him over the stack. And this does also game stack with my Atlanta week 17. So, that's a little bit of a benefit there, but I think that makes more sense just because I think Juwan Johnson is a little bit of a tier above Hawkinson, where we feel safer in his role. Like Hawkinson just hasn't really performed the last 2 years ever since that injury. 455, 438, 0 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. Never really been a big red zone guy. I think Juwan Johnson has a better role in his offense, and that offense has a decent chance to kind of take a leap. The Saints, that is, and it was a game stack as well, so I do get some correlation. It's not just like uncorrelated versus stacked. Drew, what's the typical best or balanced roster structure in Superflex? I've done some weird ones, but don't know what's meta. Um, I would say so. There is a little bit of debate, and there's obviously like with the sidekick builds and stuff. I think that they would disagree a little. I would say that the optimal build to me is you need 2 quarterbacks by 5 rounds, probably maybe by 6 if you're getting like you see Rodgers, Smith, Mendoza all went on the 5-6 turn. So I would say by the 5th round or like 6th if it's one of these guys, you need 2 quarterbacks almost always. I think picking less than that is probably just bad structure in general. And then I would probably also almost always want like 2 of my first 6 to be running backs. I think the really the thing is a heavy RB room where you're most likely flexing a running back, and then a robust enough quarterback room where you feel confident that you're like super flexing a quarterback. But also like I think the third quarterback is pretty important too. Like in this one, I have kind of a weaker third quarterback with Tua, but I do think he can start all year, so that's why I'm going a little bit weaker. But like I have a really strong top 2, I think. Not a first rounder, but pretty strong top 2. I think getting like at least 2 in that top 5, like I said, 2 running backs in the top 6 most likely. I think those are my general favorite kind of like meta build ideas. And then just like building a really strong running back room early, like something like this, and then you can only get like 5. Like I could have even added on another sooner instead of one of these receivers and stopped at like 5 running backs. I think that can be really good because then you can shove a bunch of volume at receiver. Um, I don't know. I think there's a couple different ways to play it. We'll get Sean Tucker for the upside. Could just some contingent upside, should have some goal line. That feels fine there. But I think in general, like in this one, I think I spent my capital okay, but like I think like in general, I would even be okay with not taking Nico and taking like Kyron. And then if I had that like a 2-3-0-0, then maybe like even like still take these 2, go like 2-5-0-0, and just like really crush at running back, and then it kind of covers my super flex spot as well if I need it to. Or just like taking 1 running back there, still having 4, and then just kind of starting to like rip off my receivers. But I think that's the big thing to me is the first like 6 rounds, I'm really focusing on quarterback and running back. And then if I go receiver, I guess the other thing too, if I pick an early receiver, I'm really trying to go like stop at like 6 receivers would be a thing, or like just like having kind of a hero or double anchor, so to speak, receiver room. where like you really push off that other receiver capital because those top 1 or 2 can really carry you when you only need to start 2 receivers every week in this format. All right, we go Tesla. He's some game stacks. He's some correlation with Laporta. Hopefully can give me a little bit of spike week upside. I think that feels fine there. Nothing else is really speaking to me. Could take Zach Branch. Maybe he makes it back. But we'll get Tesla. Just a couple game stacks in the playoff weeks. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that kind of explained my thoughts on the structure, like good enough. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my general thoughts on it. I think it's just like really trying to be robust at QB and running back. You got to be careful, like when you start pushing like that fourth running back and stuff, or like clicking that fourth running back. You are taking a guy who can only hit like your super flex spot, so he's mostly just a bench guy. So you don't want to go too crazy in that sense, um, but I don't know. I do think like only having to start 2 receivers allows you to go like pretty late at receiver and still have a room that you feel pretty confident can fill 2 spots every week. What's up, Harbin? Hey, what's up, Emo Cowboy? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Appreciate it. Emo was on Jerry's stream earlier. Oh yeah, and if anyone doesn't know the So You Think Tout competition, Emo and the boys dropped a video on Peter Overzet's channel earlier today. So if you didn't see that yet, then definitely go check it out. Drop a like, drop a comment. It was about kind of like a redraft style, like different build structures, like on the sleeper draft type video. What up? Looks like a super flex. Are you doing any other tourneys? Yeah. So I mean, I'll do pretty much any of them. I'll probably mostly just be ripping either puppy, super flex. I could do that Frenchy thing too. Mostly just puppy, super flex, but yeah, I'll maybe do like a normal draft after this. I did do a poll for multi-tabling or not, so if you guys want a multi-table, then we can do that, and then if not, we'll just do a single. But we'll rip a normal one after this. What's up, my boy? We ripping puppies. Hey, what's up, Zero Fucks? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Yeah. We'll probably rip a puppy after this. We can do puppy after this, and then either 1, 3, or 5. So up to you guys. All right, so we're about to be up here. I wouldn't mind Judy, wouldn't mind Ray Davis, just some contingent upside. Calvin Ridley would be okay. I'm not picking as much Mooney right now. They brought in a lot of guys. Mooney's fine, but I'm not picking as much. I think we'll just grab Judy there. Maybe he has some upside to get traded away. Maybe he I don't know. He could have a decent role. There's no guarantee Boston and Conception both take him off the field. Maybe one of those guys has a hard time getting on the field early. So hopefully Judy can kind of help fill out my receiver room there. I don't need like a ton more receivers. I'm kind of just picking guys who can maybe give me like some spike weeks. Maybe those days are behind Judy, but he feels okay there. I'll probably be done at receiver now with that. I might look at 1 running back, and then I might even take a 4th quarterback, like take a Jameis Winston or something behind my dart. But we'll see. I think running back here probably makes the most sense though. I could grab Vidal, could grab Claiborne. We'll get Claiborne. I guess I have 8% in Superflex, so I do have a little bit, I guess, but that is because I have quite a bit of Kyler. I have almost 20% Kyler in Superflex. He is a pass catcher. We'll pick him with Kyler. I'm not really sure how confident I feel that he'll actually have a meaningful role at all, but he can catch passes. He could get on the field. He could have like a profile that works as far as like spiking with your quarterback. His ability to get on the field is probably going to be more through injuries, but it is also the 19th round. So I don't mind it. A little bit of correlation stacked up. I'd say Superflex meta is don't overload on early wide receiver. Don't go 3 QB right out of the gate. Make sure you have strong RB as a viable way to fill Superflex or flex spot. And ultimately, remember you can only start 2 wide receiver. Yeah, no, I think I pretty much agree. I think I actually agree with all of it. Sometimes I'm a little bit willing to start like even like 3 of my first 4 as QB. I do agree though, in general, you're probably giving up quite a bit of projection doing that. So I think I pretty much agree with this overall. I bet on the Cleveland Weather Weeks 13 to 17 being non conducive to throwing the football. So I don't prioritize ever needing to choose between the two. Very low ceiling floor to be shooting for. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the weather thing is a negative, but just like neither one of them looked good the last time we saw them play football is the problem, right? Like it's really hard to have faith in Watson bouncing back or Shadur really taking much of a step. At least for me it is. And like you said, like the weather, these pass catching weapons, I think I'm pretty hopeful on a couple of them, like Conception in Boston, but there's no guarantee how good they're gonna be. Um, yeah, I definitely don't want to be in a spot where I'm betting on the Browns QBs. All right, so I mentioned maybe Jameis if he's still there. We could take him just in case Dart gets injured. We know Jameis can spike. Like he's one of those backups that I like grabbing because obviously there's no way he starts like from benching. But with injury upside, he could have some really good contingent upside. So I really don't mind grabbing Jameis here. Anyone else I really like, I wouldn't mind like Wicks. Jordan James would be fine too. We'll just grab Jameis here. I think that makes sense for my fourth QB. And he's Dart's backup, so that just gives me really strong like contingent upside in case anything happens to Dart. Hopefully my team kind of doesn't miss a beat. So I'll check out my team and Drew's team, RB1, and then we'll hop into some puppies. I'll check the poll right after I check the teams, and then we'll either hop into 1, 3, or 5 puppies. Vote in the poll and let me know. Right. Uh, all right. Yeah, I'll review the team first, and then I'll catch up with you guys. So I went with a 4-6-7-3. Jackson Dart, Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, Jameis Winston. Feels pretty good at QB. Locked up that Giants room, like I was saying. Kyler Murray should be a pretty solid QB too, and then hopefully Tua holds on to that job all year. We got Bijan Robinson, Jeremiah Love, DeAndre Swift, Trevion Henderson, Sean Tucker, Demond Claiborne. So, four kind of locked in starters. Obviously, Trevion's going to be splitting some time. So is Swift probably. But I think four locked in starters. Hopefully, Bijan and Love are my RB1 and 2 every week. And then these two guys can fill in my flex, maybe even fill in my super flex some weeks. Tucker and Claiborne just kind of lower upside swings if injury contingent, or Tucker could kind of hit by getting into the end zone a couple times. Wide receiver, we want Nico, Marv Harrison, Jordan Addison, Michael Pittman, Jaden Higgins, Isaac Tesla, and Jerry Jeudy. I feel like that's a pretty solid receiver room. It might even be a little bit too much volume there. Just with these like later guys, like did it really need Jeudy or something when you only need to start 2 receivers? I think it's a good receiver room overall for Superflex, but maybe even a little bit too much volume there. On that tight end, we want Laporta, Juwan, Hawkinson. I think that feels like a solid tight end room, if not like pretty strong tight end room with Laporta up top. So pretty happy with that. Um, Overall, I think maybe I could have put it a little bit more at like a running back spot instead of receiver near the end, but I think I'm pretty happy with the build. Um, and then let's look at RB1. So you went also 4-6-7-3. Joe Burrow, Malik Willis, Bryce Young, Mac Jones. So, strong top 3, all starters, not getting benched. And then Mac Jones, just a really strong, like injury contingent upside guy. Could have some trade possibility. More likely an injury contingent guy. But, if Purdy goes down, Mac Jones can give you like really high weeks. He can give you like huge value. So, he feels like one of the better backups to pick in the whole draft. RB, James Cook, Devon Achane, Chuba Hubbard, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Kalen Black. So I do kind of like the move with Minnesota where you paired them up because they're both so cheap. And if either one gets hurt, the other one increases in value. If like, you think it's going to be an improving offense, obviously with Kyler Murray there, and you just like, you hope it's going to be a high scoring opportunity offense and locking down both pieces. That feels pretty good. I don't think Demond Claiborne provides a ton of risk. Maybe a little bit to like Jones's pass catching upside or something, but realistically, Claiborne's probably not going to see the field much without an injury, and one of these guys will take a lot more work with an injury. So I like that, especially behind your top 3 being like, pretty solid starters and 2 real strong guys up top. I think I like that running back room overall. You basically have like 4 strong starters when you combine the Minnesota guys. And then receiver, you want T. Higgins, Ted McMillan, Parker Washington, Steph Diggs, Jalen Coker, Trey Tucker, Tank Dell, Harold Fannin, Greg Dulcich, Eric All. Tight end's fine because you have Fannin, so like pretty strong top guy. Dulcich, Eric All, Eric All with your Burrow makes sense. I think Dulcich makes sense. He's been getting a lot of good coach speak. Kind of as like a second guy. Hopefully he gets a decent amount of targets, but I think he makes sense where he goes. Receiver feels fine overall, I think too. I think it feels fine. You did kind of stack it out. You got T with your Burrow, you got Tet and Coker with your Bryce Young. Did a pretty big Carolina stack on here. Um, yeah, I think receiver looks pretty solid overall. I think Tet and T should be hitting pretty much every week. And then Diggs kind of really helps with some of that floor, like on if T has like lower weeks or something. Diggs really helps that floor. Coker can spike, Tucker can spike, or kind of give you that floor. Yeah, I think pretty solid team overall. I like it. I think like what I like the most too is like the three solid QBs where like I feel like mine feel a little bit less solid because like Tua carries a little bit more risk. I really like having those three solid ones, then just Mac Jones for some contingent upside. Um, yeah, pretty good rooms. All right, so I'll catch up a little bit, and then I'd rather Superflex RB to be honest. Fair, hop in the pit bull. Let me check the YouTube poll, and so go ahead and vote right now if you haven't already. Let me see if I'm in a multi-table or if I'm going to be doing one draft or not. Let me see what's winning. Okay, so it's on one draft. All right. So for right now, we'll do one draft. I'd be I'd be open to the pit bull. Let me know in chat what you guys want to draft. I I could do a pit bull though. That'd be fine. The key to Superflex is draft the best players. I agree. That's the key to most formats, to be fair, but I agree. Managed league makes sense to Superflex QB more than best ball, probably. I don't know. I mean, because QBs, like, they're just floor and, like, a spike game for a QB, even like not a crazy spike, is still in the 20s. I think it's going to be hard for your fourth RB to hit that very often. Um, but with earlier round picks, I mean, um, yeah, yeah, okay, I think I kind of get what you're saying. Yeah, because you can like kind of get the scoring like QB has so much parity, you can get the scoring a little bit later. I troll voted for 5 at once. Can't change my pick. No, I don't think you can. Oh, never mind. One draft was winning anyways. Davis Mills, Frenchie 5 filling before Frenchie 3. Superflex is funny. Fuck Superflex. I love Superflex, man. I don't know. It's like the easiest one. It's not the easiest one, but I don't know. It feels like the strategy's kind of laid out where you can build like just really solid kind of overall teams in it. You can start more. I guess you can in every format, but I don't know. Superflex is pretty easy once you get used to it. I feel like you can start more than 2 wide receivers, but I agree with emo and macro view. Um, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, because you can like flex and Superflex receivers too. Boom. Hey, what's up, Jeff T? Thanks for my brother. Money and thing. I'm still in therapy because of the irrational background change. Hey, well, soon enough, we'll be able to regret these decisions too. LMAO, disbanded, got the dot. And thanks stopping by this man. Appreciate it, bro. Got the banana OG disbanded. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Smoking on that good shit. Henderson locked in starter. Fuck yeah, I hope so. I mean, I hope so too. I think I might have corrected myself pretty quick where I was like, he can give me some spike weeks and maybe give me good flex scores, but hopefully a locked in starter. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Hey man, can you help me decide to trade for my dynasty team? Yeah, sure. What's up, Z Boardman? Thanks for stopping by, brother. I'm potentially looking to trade Drake May and Christian Watson for Caleb Williams, Brian Thomas Jr., and 2027 first. Drake May and Christian Watson for Caleb Williams, BTJ. My core wide receivers would be Jefferson, Rice, Jordan Tyson, and BTJ. I think I'd probably take the trade because I think Caleb and Drake May are close enough in value that getting the additional first is worth it. I think BTJ right now in Dynasty is probably pretty similar value to Watson, right? If not more valuable. I would take the Caleb side, I think. I think the 2027 first probably puts me over to that side, I think. Yeah, that's my lean. That's my lean right now. Would be the 27 first side with Caleb and BTJ. Also, I get my 27 first. I give Nico and my first for Jefferson, so I get my capital back and get younger. Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of like it overall because I think Brian Thomas Jr., like, you might be kind of really buying low on him, and Christian Watson, you might be kind of maybe not buying the peak, but buying him at a higher price right now. Just sign the deal. I think you might be selling a little bit high on him, getting rid of him for that return. Obviously, Drake May is the top piece in that trade, but I don't know if the difference between him and Caleb is enough to put me on the Drake May side. Probably take Caleb side. Seems like a fair trade. I wouldn't be trading away May personally. That's a tough part. He's definitely the best player in the trade. I just don't think the gap's like giant though. Um, all right. I'd like to have a 27 pick as well. Can see both sides. Yeah, no, that's true. It is a pretty fair trade. Like, I don't think it's lopsided by any means. But I'm probably leaning a little bit towards Caleb. I don't want to. I just want BTJ. I feel like Caleb is a fair spot for May. Right. And if you feel like that, then definitely do it. Because if you think Caleb and May are close, then I think you're really gaining value. It's really just how much more is May worth than Caleb to me. And I don't think too much. I'm taking Caleb's side. Puppy. All right. Pitbull or puppy. Looks like we're going puppy. Big dog. All right. Well, you got outvoted best ball on call. I was ready to do one today, but I guess not. All right. So it looks like we'll do a puppy, and then I'll catch back up quick after we join, but I'll count it down. So we're gonna join the puppy 2 in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're in. Waiting on 3 in the puppy. All right, we filled. Z Borman, should I swap Jordan Tyson in the trade with May instead of Watson for Caleb and BTJ? Should I mean, I mean, if you can swap Jordan Tyson in the trade with May, instead of Watson? Oh, okay, right. I get what you're saying. Jordan Tyson instead of Watson. It's tough. We haven't seen Jordan Tyson play in the NFL before. Obviously. I think I probably would rather have Tyson than Watson. I think that's also pretty debatable. I think I'm more leaning towards give me the mystery box upside. Watson did just get his contract, so he is kind of locked in Green Bay. But I think I want to keep the younger guy. I think I believe in that Saints offense to really improve. I believe in Kellen Moore, like in their coaching staff. So I think I would want to keep the younger guy, Jordan Tyson. But slightly, and I can see the case for Watson as well. He just got locked up in Green Bay. But I think they could always lean to be a little bit more run heavy later in the year, like just by nature of where they play, the environment. So I think Tyson probably gives you more true ceiling overall. And I think they're both good offenses, but maybe the Saints are even going to be a little bit higher, like pass volume passing offense. And they play in a dome, so that's always good, like later in the year and stuff. So here we'll just go Jamar Chase. To me, he's pretty clearly wide receiver 1. Obviously, you can argue Puka, but I'm always going to be a Jamar Chase guy. Let's see who got in here. So we got Zero Fucks at the 2. We got me at the 3. We got RB1, Drew at the 8. Alex Faded at the 9. BBOC at the 12. Best ball on call at 12. I think that's it. If anyone else in here, let me know. I think that's all I recognize though. But nice. We got a little friends and family room, about half the room or so. So we'll have to make sure we don't snipe too hard. BVOC got lucky. He got lucky. I'm not right next to him. I would have had him in hell on that turn. But no. Hopefully we can all get out with pretty good teams. Only 2 of us will make it through, but hopefully we all get out with decent squads. Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Yeah, probably not. Probably trade Watson. You gonna leave a comment Hartman read during the puppy 17. What do you mean? I'm barely behind VVOC. Chill out. But yeah, no, I was getting bad. I was getting bad on a couple of them. I'm getting better at keeping up with the chat and kind of keeping it going. So every stream we get a little bit better. But it is always good to have them piled up a little. Then I have something to just click on if I don't have nothing to talk about. I can just see. I don't know if Watson's selling high. His outlook has actually improved, not just theoretical upside. Yeah, no, I actually do. Well, that's why I said maybe you're selling high. Maybe you're not, but I mean, he did definitely show the upside multiple weeks last year, and I think he can clearly be their wide receiver one for sure. Um, I just I just think overall I'm probably leaning with the younger guy who doesn't have I mean Tyson doesn't have the best injury history either, to be honest. I was gonna say with the better injury history, it's probably still better than Watson's, but neither one of them have good injury history. But I think just give me the younger guy. In Tyson, I'd rather keep. So here, start Jamar Chase. Let's take London. Let's just do let's see what comes back. Maybe we take a running back next round. But I wouldn't mind doing a start just kind of pissing, going 0 RB. I wouldn't mind it. So we'll see what comes back. But I wouldn't mind that at all. I'm a big BTJ guy, but for Dynasty, you can definitely have horrible outcomes. Yeah, I agree. You are carrying more risk with him because, if this year, it's kind of more like last year and it wasn't really the injuries, he's just not really one of the focal pieces of that offense. It's more on Parker Washington, Travis Hunter takes some of the role. It's not that they're super duplicative, but if BTJ is the third best receiver on the team or something this year, it could really hurt his future value for sure. I think maybe we get a little Trey McBride. I wouldn't mind it. I don't hardly take him. I wouldn't mind Olave though even more. Let's go Olave, and then maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get Loveland back if I want to keep going 0 RB. But if not, maybe I start looking at running backs. I like him on that 4 or 5 turn on this side of the board. I was thinking about Brees a little bit. I was thinking about McBride, but I think we go Olave. I like him a lot there. Like I just was saying, kind of with the Tyson thing, I like buying into that Saints offense, the Kellen Moore system. I think they're going to have really high play volume. I think Olave, it's still going to be pretty clearly the alpha, at least this year with Tyson as a rookie. And I think just the overall scoring opportunities could go up, and he's still going to be the alpha. They're still going to have really high play volume, really high, just pass opportunities, hopefully good scoring opportunities. So he feels pretty good there. And I'm gonna switch my exposures back real quick to just the regular post draft. All right, and then I'll minimize that in just a second, and the board will go back to normal. But I just wanted to do that because I noticed my exposures were set for Superflex because I had 0% Trey McBride because I don't pick him in Superflex ever. So I wanted to make sure they're right for this because there are some things like that. Like in Superflex, I don't really believe in the elite tight ends and stuff as much, but in normal, I'll mix them in here and there. I still do think they're a little bit cost prohibitive where it's tough to take elite tight ends, but in normal drafts, I can see the case more than Superflex. Yeah, Watson going to be a problem this year, chat. Mark my words. All right. I mean, fair enough. Oh, we were Christian Watson. I thought you were saying Deshaun for a second. Christian Watson, yeah, I can see it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Christian Watson. I just think right now, I think the narrative on him is really good, just in the sense they trade away Wicks, they trade away Dobbs, just gets the big deal. You might be able to sell it kind of a higher price than normal, but he could also have his ultimate spike, biggest spike week or spike season kind of this year, right? Like he could have a great breakout year, be like a top 3 round receiver next year. So you definitely are taking risks trading away either guy like that, young, talented, maybe kind of held back by injuries, but if he's healthy this year, it could be a real breakout year. Uh yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like Watson quite a bit, but I just think right now his value is kind of at peak of maybe summer value for him. Fully healthy, all the guys traded, just gets a big fat deal. Might be kind of the peak of his summer value. 9 hole, let's fucking go. Hey, what's up, Alex Fade? Thanks for stopping by, bro. And oh yeah, Alex Fade at the 9. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, bro. Appreciate it. And I'll check out the teams at the end, see what you guys were building. I might check in a little bit here and there through the draft, but at the end, I'll make sure to go over them quick. All right, so we go Loveland there. I was kind of mentioning I might do that. Uh, Wanted to try kind of a zero RB build in this one. We'll see how it goes. I'll probably grab like a fourth receiver here. Could grab like a Lamar, but I don't think that makes a ton of sense. Probably go like fourth receiver, and then if I get like a Burrow back, that'd be cool. Then I could go like seventh round first RB or something. Start with Ramondre, something like that. Not something I do super often, but I don't mind trying it out here and there. Here I wouldn't mind like Montgomery would be fine, but Devontae or Waddle are probably the guys I'm gonna go for. I have quite a bit of Monty. Zero fucks goes Waddle. I like Devontae quite a bit. I'm a little bit underweight. Led the league in end zone targets last year. I think that gives me a really solid receiver room. Obviously, at this point, like I have my three starters. Hopefully, Devontae hits my flex. A little bit more ideal to have a running back flex, but I think he feels pretty good there. And then I could go like double running back right here on the 6-7 turn. Or like if Caleb's there or something, I might go like QB. If Burrow's there, I might go QB. So we'll kind of see what comes back to me. But I really do like Devontae where he goes. I think his touchdown upside, like for the season, is right up there with anyone in the league. And you're getting him in the 5th round. Obviously, there's a little bit of injury concern. He's a little bit older. Same thing with Stafford, kind of right. But I think just touchdown upside, that Rams offense feels so safe. He's Stafford's favorite end zone target and one of the best like end zone targets in the league. I believe 28 end zone targets for Devontae last year. Watson's basically mystery box upside. Still, need a full season healthy. Yeah, no, I agree. It is tough when it's such a limited sampling. He's been hurt so much. It does make it tough. But yeah, but he could have that upside. Thanks, man. I appreciate your help for real. Hey, no, I appreciate you stopping by and if you can, drop a like, drop a sub. I'd appreciate it. But yeah, no, I'm always happy to talk, football, different formats and stuff. I only play like a little bit of Dynasty, so I'm gonna be honest, that's not like super my forte, but I do play a little bit, and hopefully I know enough ball that I can give like a decent take, even though I'm not like a super Dynasty bro. Um, oh yeah, because I was threatening to snipe you. Don't try to push past me, my boy. I got my sniper rifle loaded, sadly. All right. Good to know. Good to know. I'll not push past you unless I think it's like a pick that'll hurt the build. Where you can snipe me, but it hurts you more than it hurts me. Maybe I'll try to tempt you if I can figure it out. Selling Watson now is selling low, if anything. It could be. I mean, if he has his breakout, for sure it could be. But I don't know if he. I think right now it's this kind of comment that makes me think it could be selling high. Where if you're a Watson truther, it's like the upside's limitless. The breakout's coming. Like it is selling low if the breakout does come, but there's been many a times it doesn't for certain players. I do believe in Watson, so I think it'll come, but I don't know. It is a little bit of a risk, right? Uh, all right. So the quarterbacks get kind of eaten up. We could look at running back here. Tyler Warren would be a good pick as well. I could go kind of a double tight end build. I don't mind it, but I think it's smarter. It's definitely way smarter to just grab Ramondre there. Just lock up those points. That definitely makes a lot more sense than grabbing Warren. Like Warren would have been a decent pick, but with Loveland already on the team, I don't think it makes sense to put that much capital at tight end, especially when I'm so weak at running back. I really need to put capital at running back. So, they leave me Chuba. I'm up to 3% now. Doesn't feel great. Could pull up RJ Harvey. I've heard that before. I don't mind it. I could pull up RJ Harvey. We'll pull up RJ Harvey over Chuba Hubbard. I'm not picking hardly any Jalen Warren. Maybe I could have picked him too. I'm not a big believer in Jalen Warren. I think Rico's taken too much of the high value work, but we'll get Harvey there. He's explosive. He's the pass catcher on the Broncos. Dobbins won't really take away much pass catching work. Harvey did get like 30% of the goal line work last year when even when they were both healthy like the first 10 weeks. And he showed that he can be a decent like kind of running back around the goal line, especially in the sense of like he was used a lot receiving around the goal line or just kind of in the red zone. So he can really get on the field that way, and he's good just rushing at the goal line too. Like he's not like a liability. So I think Harvey makes sense. One of the best offenses in the or not one of the best offenses in the NFL, but most likely a top 10 offense and one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So I think him and Stevenson feel fine as my first two running backs. Got a little bit different pulling up Harvey. Got the mini stack with New England and Denver. So we're feeling good there. We're feeling good. Um, you know, but yeah, that was mentioned before. Last time I think I was in that spot, I took Hubbard. This time we pull up Harvey with the Patriots back, so feels good. Sell him after he smashes this year. Yeah, you could. If he gets hurt though, he's worth nothing next year. Right, right. That's the risk, and that's the risk for sure. And I think there is a risk too. Like, what if Golden comes on and he's kind of more that lead guy, and by the end, what if in the end of the year it's all about Matthew Golden's, breakout or hot streak down the stretch, right? Or like Jaden Reed's a little bit older, so he wouldn't maybe get quite as much hype. But like Watson could also get his thunder kind of stolen by like a Matthew Golden or something too. Um, I do think, like I said, I'm bought in, but I think there are obviously risks with holding a guy like that, and he's had the injuries too. Zero RB is dead. Well, we're doing it. We're doing it right now. Thad shows up for a stream and we immediately zero RB him. Sorry, I had to do it to you, Thad. It wasn't on purpose. It just fell a little bit that way. But rest assured, I'm not doing too many zero RBs this year. I do think the more robust running backs earlier, at least like a Hero or Double Anchor, have worked out better. But I think mixing in zero RBs here and there can be good. So here I wouldn't mind an on-stack dart. I don't have a ton of QB options. Could also look at like a Bo Nix. I think we just grab the on-stack dart. Could grab Corum as well, but I think I like some of these running backs that go right after. So I think I'd like to get my first quarterback. Could have reached down for Stafford too, but I think Dart just gives me so much more upside. And I think maybe not so much more upside. I mean, Stafford threw like 40 touchdowns last year, but I think Dart's rushing that makes me feel safer with maybe the floor, and hopefully he can give me even more ceiling. Um, and then I could get Stafford back, so I can probably pick Stafford if I want, or like Bo Nix with Harvey. So I have other QB options if I want to kind of double tap it. Um, I could double tap it. I could try to play it for Shuck to come back. I think either one would be fine. All right, so there goes Nix. So I wouldn't mind Stafford with my Devontae. Corum wouldn't be bad as a third RB. I think we just lock up the Stafford though, because I think there's a really good chance that I don't get Shuck back in this room. So I think it makes sense to lock up my second QB, just kind of double tap it there. Um, I think there's a good chance I don't get Shuck back, and then if I don't, I'm taking like an on stack QB that I probably don't like as much. So I think just locking up Stafford with my Devontae Adams there, I think that makes the most sense. Could have definitely went Corum. I'm not a huge fan of Corum where he goes. I think he's really expensive given his role. Obviously, he has probably like one of the highest contingent upsides in the league. If the starter is to go down. But I think right there it made more sense to grab the quarterback. My running back room's obviously going to be pretty weak, but that allows me to be able to stop at two quarterbacks if I want and get a little bit more volume. So I don't mind it. You can say that about any player, though. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. BTJ is only 23. Watson is 27. So even if BTJ gets hurt, he still got more value than 27-year-old receiver. I agree with that totally. I think Watson's past his injury concerns. The ACL was a freak injury, not soft tissue. Yeah. I mean, and like people use it as almost like a diss on Watson, but he did legitimately go to that university and like actually get his body studied, try to like work to fix all those soft tissue injuries that were happening. Right. So, I mean, he has put in a lot of work to it. ACLs are kind of freak injuries. It's not like you can kind of repeating. So maybe there is a chance he kind of figured out his body, got better, kind of got right. But it is a risk, obviously. I think if BTJ has a bad year, he goes to a new team next year, to be honest, maybe even this year by the deadline. Yeah, and I do think that's one thing with BTJ is a lot of his value, I think, is hurt by the fact that he doesn't fit in as well, like with his role to Liam Cohen's offense and to T Law's skill set. So I think that really hurts BTJ where he is right now. And maybe that changed a little bit. Maybe it just feels like he doesn't fit in with T Law as well, just because he wasn't healthy last year and like he wasn't playing optimally, like BTJ wasn't for like his skill set. But I do think I do think him and T Law isn't the perfect match. And if he went somewhere else, that could be what kind of unlocks him if this year's a little bit disappointing as well. True, but May is younger than Caleb. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay, 6 months. I was just gonna ask how much younger? 6 months younger. All right, yeah. Not very notable. I think Caleb has more upside than and BTJ has more upside than Watson. I'm not sure if I 100% agree that Caleb has more upside than May. I think May's upside is like as good as anyone in the league. Like I think May could legitimately just be the new Josh Allen. I mean, we still have the current Josh Allen. Oh, look, so Shuck makes it all the way back to me and I did take the quarterback. I think we still just take him. Zero said he's gonna snipe me, but we're gonna make sure that we take the best quarterback on the board as our third, just so he can't get him. Rashad White, that would have been even probably a better snipe. But I actually do think taking Shuck there, that makes some sense. Obviously now my running back room is going to be like really thin. It might be pretty hard to build out of, but I think getting two of my quarterbacks stacked up with some of my top guys, that feels good. It really depends how this RB room falls to me. Wow, can't believe you passed me Aaron Jones. What a value. All right, we got Aaron Jones. The RB room is saved. No, but I like him in Minnesota. I think I was kind of talking about before, but like just because he's kind of more of the pass catching back there, like Jordan Mason's kind of more like a zero as a pass catcher. We look at his like receptions. Most he's ever had is 14. Obviously, he's a really good runner, really efficient, could get more goal line. But Jones, he's just more of a receiving back. I think both of them are good picks. We hope Minnesota's going to be a lot better this year. We hope the O line's going to be a lot better this year. So I think Aaron Jones feels good there. And I definitely need running back help. I could use a little bit like I probably could have used another running back over Shuck, like capital wise, but I do like Shuck where he goes. I had him stacked. It might have been worth it to push it for the third QB, to push running back a little bit, but I don't know. It is a little bit tough when I went so weak at running back. It's a lot easier to do that with kind of like a hero or something up top at running back. Let me go back to the board. Caleb is a little short too. That's true. That limits his upside. May more prototypical with the rushing upside too. I do agree. Yeah. Um, I do agree. I think May's upside is. I think Caleb's upside's right there too, though. May is maybe a little bit better because Caleb has some of the accuracy problems. And I think we like to think, or at least I like to think, that that'll get better. But that's no guarantee where May doesn't really have that issue. I think rushing wise, they're comparable, but if anything, May probably has the slight edge. Um, and yeah, so I think I do just lean May, but it's pretty small margins. So getting that first round pick back, I think that was what really like pushed the value towards your side. What should I do? Zero. I don't know. Kayla was more upside unless you're just a Ben Johnson truther. Yeah. I mean, he has better weapons, I guess. That's part of it, maybe, but I agree. I'm more on May upside, but it's close. Yo Hartman. Hey, what's up, Crossface? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Appreciate it. We're ripping a puppy right now. I'm actually about to pick, but I'll go over the team real quick too after I make this pick. All right, so we have Dart, Stafford, Shuck. Are we looking at any stacks? Not really. McMillan, he has some games like that correlate week 15 and 17, but I'm not a huge McMillan guy. I wouldn't mind getting a little bit more Omar Cooper. We grab Woody too. I think there's a chance that he has a decent role still, even with Monty there. I'm a little bit more bought in on Monty being kind of like the pretty clear lead guy. But I think there's a good chance he still has a role with Monty there. And, he has decent contingent upside. Monty goes down. They don't really have much else behind him. So we'll grab Woody there. Not my favorite pick, but I think on a thinner running back room, he definitely makes sense. I think there's kind of a fall off after him. You know, I probably have less faith in Pacheco, even if I think the overall situation he's in is maybe a little better. I probably have less faith in him overall, like making much of an impact or just as a player, I guess, than I do with like Woody. You know, and I think Woody has a better chance to like split and have like a real role on that team. Um, all right, so I could look at running back again. I think it might just be Coker though. I don't mind some of these tight ends, but I think I can wait a little bit. I think at receiver it'd be pretty clearly Coker. I don't love any of these running backs, so we'll just take Coker there. I think he was my favorite pick right there, just because I don't feel like these running backs separate too much from the ones that go in the next turn, like around 160 or so. And the rest of the receivers, like I don't love Naylor, I don't love Williams, especially not as high as he's going now. Boston is good, but you know he goes a little bit later. Debo I like, but goes a little bit later. So I think Coker there made the most sense. The tight ends are fine too, but I think I can still get some value later. I have Loveland, so I don't want to spend like a bunch of capital at tight end. I don't have to. Um, so I'm fine with waiting just a little bit at tight end. Uh, do what your heart tells you. Yeah, exactly. I'm the May Caleb. I'm torn. I'm a BTJ truther hard, plus the 27 first round capital. You know, I think that's enough to push it over the edge towards that side, but yeah, but it is a close trade, you know, and it is tough. You're made, you know, big pieces, right? So it's tough. I still trust the Patriots more than the Bears. Yeah, I don't know. That one's actually tough for me. I think I think if we're talking overall offenses, I probably still trust the Bears a little bit more. Well, do I trust them more? I mean, AJ Brown on the Patriots. It's tough. It's tough to say which one I trust more. I think I have pretty high trust in both offenses, especially in like the short term. Um, but I do agree. I more have trust in the Patriots because of Drake May. In the Bears, it's not as much because of Caleb, but it's just that I don't think Caleb's going to sink them or anything. I think he's, you know, good and good enough to elevate them potentially. Where Drake May, I feel like I already know that he's going to elevate anyone who's on the Patriots. You get him a bunch of bums like he had as a rookie, or like last year, his number one receiver, Steph Diggs. Drake May is just going to crush. Where Caleb, though, I don't know if that's the case, but Caleb also has a ton of young weaponry. So it's like, I don't know how much it matters if it's the case when you know so many of those guys are locked into the Bears for so long at this point, like probably longer than your dynasty horizon that you care about, right? Um, so I think that's the main thing with Caleb is I agree that he probably wouldn't elevate guys like May does, but we know he has so many weapons so locked in for quite a while now that even in Dynasty, I'm not as concerned about that like difference. Because I think the Bears have so many good young pieces. Just running back is really their only like somewhat questionable long term role, but receiver and tight end they're great. Um, all right, so wouldn't mind Brian Robinson. Wouldn't mind Dalton Schultz. I picked quite a bit of Dalton Schultz. Yeah, I think. Ah, we got Sean Tucker. Hopefully, all right. We got Sean Tucker. He had a correlation week 15 and 17, so you know that feels pretty good getting someone that's like just has a little bit of correlation, but all these running backs are pretty similar. So if I can get a guy who correlates a little bit with my quarterbacks, obviously B Rob does also week 17. But Tucker correlated with my Rams in New Orleans 15 and 17. So we grab him there. I think it's a decent tiebreaker. I don't I view B Rob probably a little bit over Tucker just since he's the clear backup. But I do think Tucker could have a more valuable standalone role, obviously, with his goal line role. So we'll get a little bit of him there. I'm a little underweight. I'm at 4.5%. So we'll just get a little bit. That doesn't feel too bad. I wouldn't mind. Let me see. So I still only have one tight end. I could probably wait though if I want. Uh I might let it just take Brian Robinson here. I think let's do that. Let's go 6 RBs. We'll probably stop at 6. I'm probably looking at a 3-6-7-2 build. So I'll probably want to grab tight end with my next pick and then lock that up. And then I'll probably want to grab 2 straight receivers to end it out. I think that's the plan. I think I'm done at running back. I just want to get 2 receivers and a tight end probably, and then I should be good. I love BT Jr., but Mayfield's like the best player by a lot. Agree. Caleb is a dog though. I agree. Caleb actually is a dog. He can run through a little contact. You know, he's a decently tough player for as on tough as his antics off the field maybe. Yeah. Best ball versus managed is tough. Yeah, no, it's true. It does change quite a bit. Thanks for leaving me Warren, my boy. Colts, let's fucking ride. Yeah, no, I mean Warren was a good pick there. I 100% would have taken him if I didn't have Loveland. But yeah, like Warren at 71, that feels great. You know, that's decent little value there. Oh, and you got the Pierce stack. Nice. So yeah, you got the whole Colt stack. Didn't get Danny Dimes, unfortunately, but got the Colts double there, top pieces. I like that. I like that. And yeah, Warren there is a great pick. I just had Loveland, unfortunately. And Daniel Retrust, sadly. Hey, you didn't even get him. What were you doing? What were you doing? Um, where do you go? Where did old Dimes go? 137. Yeah, so little early. You're probably hoping to get him at 143, but that's a little bit unfortunate. All right, so I think here the tight end probably that way I can get like probably just the Muth. I know they did just give Big Darnell like 10 mil a year. I don't think he's like a big time pass catcher by any means. You can get some red zone usage. But Muth is pretty clearly like the lead receiving tight end on that team. I think he'll keep that role. I think it'll be pretty good in this new offense. They'll be a little bit faster paced. Um, yeah, I think he's pretty good as late as he goes. I think he's one of the last guys that we feel really solid with his role. And they'll probably run a lot of 12 personnel, so I'll get them both on the field. But I think Muth will be their pretty clear receiving tight end one. Obviously, with Loveland, I don't got to worry too much. I have an elite tight end. I'm not super concerned with my second or third tight end. But at least having a guy who should have a decent weekly role, that feels okay where I can stop at 2. We'll just grab Ridley here. Don't mind him. Could have some trade upside, if he gets traded away from Tennessee. But just in general, they have a rookie. They brought in Wandale. Ridley could still have a role. He had a pretty deep like downfield role last year. I think he could like given his role is maybe kind of that more like deep, like downfield beater. He could give you some like spike weeks, some usable weeks, even if he's not like the primary target by any means on that team with Wandale and Tate coming in. I think Ridley's game, like being that little bit deeper target, deeper A dot, can at least open him up to some spike weeks, possibly, like with all the competition still. Do your thing, Hartman. Hey, I will. I'm trying. I know. I just know the zero RB. You don't love it, but uh, but yeah. We got to mix it in here and there. We got to mix it in here and there, and then at the end of the year, we can look back at them and see why they all didn't work, right? But mix them up here and there. I was gonna pull up RJ if you took my Warren. LOL. There you go. You can shit talk about Watson's injuries, but his work ethic and attitude are elite. He blocks ass off too. Not only good blocker, but very willing. I've seen him celebrate Dub's success more than Dub's himself. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of good things with Watson. I don't know, but I mean BTJ's showing a lot of upside too, like when he was a rookie, right? So I do think it's another player that can have like similar upside to Watson. Because it's not like you're talking about a scrub with BTJ by any means, but Watson, I don't know. Yeah, Watson could have that breakout year as well. But I think when you're comparing them to BTJ, I think they both have like really high upside. And it does make sense the little bit younger guy, like without as much injury history, might be a little bit better, right? With like BTJ or something. Um, where was it? That's because the Packers all love each other. It's just the Packer way. Uh, yeah, no, that's true. That's true. That is like, the team is bigger than the individual, right? All right, we're almost up. Last pick. So I think I probably need a receiver, a seventh receiver. My top four are pretty strong, but then Coker went real late with the sixth with Ridley. I probably still want a receiver. A little bit of Kayshawn Booty wouldn't be bad. I don't have any yet, and he has some trade possibilities. There's been some rumors about that. Even if not, he could have a little bit of a field stretching role in the Patriots still. So he could spike. We'll grab Booty. That's my first share post draft at all. So I don't mind grabbing a share. There were some decent RB options, but I think the seventh receiver made more sense. Um, all right. So I'll catch up real quick and then I'll go over the teams. I'll go over everyone real quick. But yeah, Packers only draft culture, smart franchise, blue chip. Yeah, no, that's true. They like the work ethic and the big culture thing. Yeah, Mark Murphy is one of a kind. Wish he was still there. When you draft Aaron Jones, it's unnecessary to say I need running back help. It's implied. You don't got to say it. Fair enough. Fair enough. Pacheco. Okay, you're throwing up. For a second, I thought you were calling out to pick Pacheco. I was like, oh no, not that. He didn't get that, did he? But all right, I pretty much agree. Pacheco makes me a little sick. He's not on my team though, so I feel fine right now. Coker, love Coker. Hell yeah, all the Coker emojis. Exactly. Exactly. Call BBOC Coker. Uh when should Stribling be drafted? Man, I mean, I guess where it's like where he goes is fine for what he is. 166, first pick of the second round. It's like where he goes is fine given his draft capital. I think it's just so hard to see because his production in college wasn't very impressive. Like nothing about his college profile is very impressive. And he got good draft capital though, and he plays for the Niners. I think where he goes is totally fair if you want to bet on him. As you can see, I have 3%. So to me, it should be a little bit later, I guess. Um, I'm more of a Ricky Pearsall believer, but I think Stribling's price is probably fair right now, given how high he was drafted in like the real life draft and just how good of a team he plays on. Um, but I'm really not picking much. I have a hard time getting in on Stribling. 33rd overall, exactly. In best ball, so the 18th round. Yep. Yeah, no, I can see like why he goes a little bit higher, but I have a really hard time picking him there. I think maybe like 16th, 17th round would be more fair, but I still probably wouldn't want to buy in a ton just because I like Ricky a lot. Uh people were saying he's going in the 159, 150s. I couldn't believe it. I thought they were trolling, but I was wrong. Yeah, no, I think his ADP was 166, it said. There he is, never too early to draft Justice Hill. And hey, what's up, Angry Dragon? They stopped by, brother. Appreciate it. Uh, never too early to draft Justice Hill. I could draft Justice Hill. I'm not picking too much of him, if any. I don't think I have any yet, but maybe. I mean, it's a fair pick. I just don't have any yet, but maybe we'll try to find a way to put him on a build today if we can. If we all remember, might grab some Justice Hill. Got sniped. A-Rich is gonna kill it with those two. A-Rich is gonna kill it with those two. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Was hoping for Stroud and Dimes. Dribbling is cheaper than rookie year Pearsall. Yeah. But rookie year Pearsall had Ayuk and Debo. Or okay, yeah. So I guess you're saying he's a good price. Yeah, I guess that's because Kirk too could take some of the role from him, but that's fair. That's why I said like his price. I get why you'd want to make the bet, but I'd probably take him. I'd probably have more if he was a little bit cheaper. But I'm more betting on Ricky. I don't know. I think his price is like decently efficient. I just don't love buying in. Um, but I don't think it's like way off from where it should be given draft capital and whatnot. All right, so I'll look at the teams quick, and then we'll hop in another draft. Um, I don't know what will hop in. Maybe just another puppy. I think that might be the most fun. Just rip. But I'll go over team quick, and then check out your guys' teams quick, and then we'll hop in. uh, hop into something next. Probably Puppy. 3672. So I went with 3672. Jackson Dart, Stafford, Shuck, good QB room, pretty strong, I'd say. Got three kind of right in the QB window. RB, we went Ramondre, RJ Harvey, Aaron Jones, Woody Marks, Sean Tucker, Brian Robinson. Pretty weak running back room. Kind of wish I could have got another guy in kind of that same like between Harvey and Aaron Jones. I wish I would have got my third in there. That would have felt a lot better, but I think it's viable with three guys giving me touches up top every week. Hopefully, my bottom three, they all have some contingent upside. Hopefully, they have roles kind of on their team weekly, especially Woody and Tucker. So I think it's okay, but it is definitely pretty thin. I don't love the running back room. Even when considering it's a zero RB room, I think I could have built it a little bit stronger. Jamar Chase, Drake London, Chris Olave, Devontae Adams, Jalen Coker, Calvin Ridley, Kayshon Boutte. I feel like receiver is pretty strong overall. Four Devontae is my fourth. Feels really strong overall. I like the receiver room. And then Loveland, Fryermuth, good enough. I think with the elite tight end, I can kind of push that second tight end. Normally with a second like Fryermuth, I still wouldn't mind a third, but I think on this build, it made more sense to put it at like a little bit more at running back. But yeah, so I think that's fine though with the elite. Overall, I think my team's okay. I probably pushed it a little bit too much at running back. Could have really used a like third running back between where Jones and Harvey go. That would have probably helped my build a lot. Instead of like one of these quarterbacks. I even kind of mentioned that when I picked them that maybe a running back would have been like structurally the smarter pick, but I don't mind that I went with the quarterback over that to get another stack with one of my top guys. But in general, it's probably better to allocate that capital at like running back over like a Tyler Shuck or something. All right, let's look at. So if I miss you, let me know. But I think I know everyone who's in here. So we got Zero Fucks with a 3672, Bo Nix, Aaron Rodgers, Fernando Mendoza. Perfectly fine QB room. Like I said, you got sniped on Stroud and Danny Dimes. But Rodgers and Mendoza, Rodgers at least covers your bye weeks for you, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully gives you some floor. Covers, as a QB2 until Mendoza's playing. And then Nix, I think he's pretty good where he goes, pretty good price. So I think that's fine overall. I don't mind the QB room. Bijan, Jeremiah Love, Rashad White, Jordan Mason, Emmanuel Wilson, Mike Washington. I think the RB room overall is solid. You got two really strong ones up top, really strong double anchor, right? And then with White and Mason, just two guys who are going to get work in their offenses. Like, hopefully you can kind of like get a lot of flex weeks out of the two of them combined. And both of them have really good contingent upside or just a chance to kind of take over the backfield they play in general. And then Wilson and Washington, hopefully they have a weekly role, but more just kind of contingent swings, big upside. So I like the RB room. Nico, Terry, Jalen Waddle, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Omar Cooper, Trey Tucker. Really solid receiver room. Like it overall. 5 by Pittman, 4 at Pierce. Like I think it's really solid. Like Cooper, like Tucker. You even spent decent capital on your 6th and 7th wide receivers. So wide receiver feels pretty strong to me. Warren, Otten, kind of similar to me where like I would prefer to get a third or get like a little bit better second tight end than Otten. But I think with the elite tight end, it is like it's viable. It's perfectly reasonable to have a tight end room like this. Maybe would have preferred a little bit better, but I think it's perfectly viable. I think the team looks overall pretty good. You're kind of relying on Knicks for that like QB upside, but maybe Mendoza late. And yeah, I think the receiver and running back rooms look solid. Tight end solid with Warren. Yeah, so nice squad. I like it overall. Who else? So I think we got RB1 and Alex Faded, and then best ball on call. And then I think that's it. And then we'll hop into another draft too after this. So RB1, Drew went with a 3-4-8-3. Joe Burrow, Daniel Jones, Michael Penix. I think that's fine. With Burrow up top, you got Danny Dimes. Hopefully he's playing week 1, but if not, hopefully he's back pretty early. Penix is fine as far as like hopefully late season he's the starter. I don't think he'll be starting week 1 just coming off that injury. I think it'll probably be Tua, but I think he has a chance to start late in the year. So that feels fine as a third. But I think with Burrow up top, you feel pretty good just kind of week to week. You got Dimes with Taylor, so that's a decent stack. But I think Dimes, once he's back healthy, he should be he should be strong enough as a QB2 that you feel pretty good with just him and Burrow, and hopefully Penix gets on the field relatively early. Then did hyper fragile, right? So Jonathan Taylor, A Chain, Jacobs, Dobbins. Um, I think that's solid for a hyper fragile, right? And it kind of buys into the Jacobs thing. Like, I'm taking the fall, and if he gets suspended for half the year, then the running back room, maybe kind of just dies. Obviously, with the 3, you could even still make it. But I like that kind of betting on Jacobs with that, making it a hyper fragile where if you really are getting that great value on him, then you're really buying into it. Like, hyper fragile all in on Jacobs. I got a crazy value. That's why I don't need to spend later capital, fill it out at other rooms. And then I think Dobbins is good enough as a fourth. Generally in a hyper fragile, I maybe want to pick a little bit earlier than Dobbins, but I think he's comparable to those guys you would get. Like if you went in the 7th round, for example, or like 8th round, and you got like a Warren or Rico, or you got like a Ramondre or something. I don't know if I feel significantly better about those guys than Dobbins. Maybe just because Dobbins' injury history, but I think that's a strong enough 4 RB room, and especially with the top 3. I mean, you're probably flexing a running back every week just with those top 3 as long as they're healthy playing. So that feels really strong and definitely good enough to stop at 4. Then you have T. Higgins, Christian Watson, Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Neighbors, Tank Dell, Andre Yoshivas. I think receiver is pretty good overall. Like you got enough volume, 4 by Ricky, pulled up Ricky a little, but I think it's good enough. It's enough volume. I like Wandale here. Gives you hopefully a nice solid like target floor. Obviously Tate might take over a little bit more later in the year, but hopefully it gives you a target floor and then just kind of some upside swings later. Tank Dell coming back, Yoshiwas maybe kind of like the touchdown guy some weeks. Malik Washington, maybe the wide receiver one in Miami. So I think I like the receiver room overall, like built out enough volume to kind of make it worth it that you didn't spend a ton of early capital. And then tight end, Pitts, Chig, Juwan. Good tight end room overall, with Pitts and then Chig, Juwan. I think that's a strong, average to strong tight end room, probably a little bit above average. So overall, I think solid build. I think the running back room is good enough to be hyper fragile. So yeah, I think overall good build. Then we got Alex Faded with a 2.673, Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray. I like that QB room. I think it's strong enough to stop at 2. I think there's the debate. Do you like grab a third one later, give yourself some like floor bye week coverage? But I think with those 2, that's strong enough. You can definitely stop at 2. Omarion, Kyron, Bashal Tootin, Tyler Algier, Katron Allen, Jordan James. Pretty good running back room. Top 3 should be starters. Bashal obviously has maybe a little bit of question marks, but Kyron and Hampton kind of holding it down. Bashal hopefully hitting your flex decently often. And then just kind of some upside swings with Algier. Hopefully he has a role. Maybe you can hit your lineup a couple weeks, but big contingent upside. And then Katron maybe takes over a pretty good role. James, good contingent upside. So I think RB is pretty good. Amon-Ra, Burden, DK, Jordan Addison, Romeo Dobbs, Khalil Shakir, Jerry Jeudy. Solid receiver room, 4 by Addison. So it's like pretty good capital there. Dobbs kind of just eats up targets, right? So maybe you got a little bit more like spike weeky and consistent guys with like Burden, Addison, maybe even DK a little bit. But then you get a little bit more like floor guys with Dobbs, Shakir. So I think it feels pretty well balanced at receiver. Obviously, Amon-Ra is kind of your hero just week in, week out. But I think it feels pretty balanced, kind of a good layering of different like player archetypes. And then, Judy at the end, he can kind of be a little bit of both even. Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, Cole Kmet. I haven't picked much Cole Kmet, I'll be honest with you, but I don't mind it on a Bears build with Caleb. So Mark Andrews and Hawkinson, I feel like that's solid enough. Cole Kmet probably could give you some usable weeks. They'll probably run a lot of 12 personnel. If he gets in the end zone, that's enough to give you like a usable week at tight end most of the time anyways. So, he might get on the field a decent amount, give you a couple usable weeks. And I like Andrews a lot where he goes. I think Hawkinson's fine where he goes. But yeah, pretty nice build overall. And then Tika, best ball on call. 3.573, Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, Malik Willis. Really solid QB room, really strong overall. Got an elite and still got 2 solid starters. James Cook, Saquon, Rico Dowdle, Tank Bigsby, Justice Hill. Really strong top 3, or especially top 2, like double anchor to start, right? But I like Rico a lot. I think he'll have a really solid role. Bigsby and Justice Hill just kind of huge upside shots. Stacked up a little, like you got Saquon's backup and then Justice Hill with Lamar. I don't mind the Tank Bigsby handcuff just as upside in case Saquon goes down, especially if it's like a couple week injury. Maybe I try to target someone else, but I don't mind that one. Um, I think your top three are strong enough though. It works. Like you can hopefully just rely on Cook and Saquon every week, and hopefully you're flexing Rico pretty often. Wide receiver, you go Neighbors, Ladd, Tyson, Golden, Antonio Williams, Debo Samuel, Elijah Surratt. Tight end, Kraft, likely Dulcich. Tight end's really strong. Big strength there. Receiver, I feel like, it does rely on Neighbors a little bit heavily, because I think Ladd feels good. Tyson could start a little bit slower as a rookie. Hopefully just hits the ground running and kind of smashes her out the gates, but he could start a little bit slower. And with Neighbors, like potentially dealing with the injury early, that does concern me a little, like with Golden and Antonio Williams kind of behind that. I maybe would have liked a little bit more safety at receiver, but I think it's fine if Neighbors is healthy week one, then you're feeling like great with this build, right? And even if not, maybe Golden takes a step, maybe Debo signs and he kind of gives that early season production. Maybe he falls off a little bit late, but if he can give you that early season, get you to Malik being healthy, you're feeling good. Ladd could obviously be a huge breakout guy, but I think it worries me a little bit with early season receiver production with a decent amount of rookies, even like Golden, his role's kind of a little bit questionable, especially early. And then with the Neighbors injury. But I feel like the rest of the team is really strong. I think receiver could work out, especially if Neighbors is back relatively early. Solid team overall. I think I like it overall. I like a lot of the players. That's one thing. Like a lot of time when I'm doing Neighbors now, I am building like pretty robust receiver rooms around him, just in case it's like you miss him for 4 weeks, but he really is that hammer. So it's still worth it kind of where he goes if you build around it. But if he is back early, then you kind of smash and your other rooms are really strong. All right. So we're gonna hop into another draft. I'll catch up with you guys real quick and then I'll hop in. Um I think I think we will probably just rip another puppy. Uh I think we'll probably just rip another puppy, but if you guys want to do something else, let me know. I'll try to catch up really quick and then we will hop into another. Just Hill scored 20-pointer game, I believe another good fantasy game last year. That's a good point. Maybe I should pick a little bit more, but I do think there's a little bit of risk. Maybe that like Rasheen Ali got some work. Maybe he takes a little bit more of a role. But it probably is just Justice Hill. He probably is worth picking. Um, yeah, just that offense, right? Really solid offense. He has a passing role. He gets on the field even if Henry's healthy. No, I mean that is a good shout. That is a good shout. His price is fine. I just prefer other guys who $1 ADP. Oh yeah, hop another puppy, my boy. Let's fucking go. Gainwell. Shuck over RB and get a later QB. Shuck over RB. Oh yeah. I mean, take RB. Yeah, I think structurally taking the RB there definitely makes sense, and you kind of saw that at the end for sure. Um, I think the RB structurally made sense. I do like Shuck a lot, and maybe that biased me a little bit too much, but structurally, I agree. The RB makes more sense there in general. I do like having the other out, and I like Shuck a lot, but I agree in general. Was Gainwell there where Shuck went? Um, I don't think so. I think I was looking at Shuck or Aaron Jones, so I think Gainwell was gone. Uh, what up, drafters? Hey, Hartman. Hey, Goofy Chicken. What's clucking, bro? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Check out Goofy Chicken if you haven't seen him yet. All right. So we'll hop in another puppy and then I'll make my way through the chat. But we'll hop in that way we can start up a draft while I'm catching up. I'll count it down though. So we're gonna hop in the puppy in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're in, waiting on 4 for the puppy. All right, so let's catch up. No, but Rashad was. Yeah, like Rashad, Aaron Jones, guys like that. Yeah, I would have considered it. Oh yeah, because you snap picked Rashad like right after I picked Shuck, I think. Um, but yeah, I could have considered it, and I did consider it at the time. And I think you saw structurally that would have made more sense, but I don't mind every once in a while going the other way. let's see who's in here. So we got Danimal at the 1, uh, Kale Elliott at the 2. They were in the last draft. I don't know if they're watching or not. Uh, but they're at the 2. Hockey Hooligan at the 3. RB1 at the 4. Buddy Man. Who is Buddy? Buddy Man is someone that's in the chats. I can't. Maybe he's in there because I'm quite a bit behind. I'll catch up in just a second. Maybe Buddy Man already announced himself. I know that's someone though. I know that's someone I know. Zero Fucks on real time. At the 8. Zero Fucks at 6. Best balls in the game. Best balls in the game. That's a great username. I don't know who it is, but it's a great username. I think that's everyone I noticed though. Best balls in the game. Cash. Shout out Goofy Chicken, man. Goofy Chicken, one of the most entertaining people in space for sure. No doubt about that. Same production. That's a 0 team. I like it 0. Oh, okay. Oh, Zero's team. Yeah. Okay. Otten floor, Warren floor, ceiling. On floor. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Otten gives you floor, Warren gives you floor and ceiling. Yeah, no, I agree. I think in general it's good enough. It was good enough tight end room. Nice 0. Zero's team was pretty nice. RB1 snipe my ass. Gonna like best ball on calls team more. Yeah. No, I mean I thought a couple of them were I thought they were all pretty good. I mean, that's the thing. Most of I feel like anyone in the chats, it might feel like sometimes I'm kind of like glazing it or something, but I do, if anything, try to be more critical, especially like capital allocation stuff. I try to be more critical of anything because it's I feel like everyone that's watching these or drafting with us is pretty knowledgeable in general on how to draft. So I don't know. I try to be a little critical, but most of the teams most of the time are pretty solid. Just need Tyrone Tracy in my opinion. Yeah, something like that. Tyrone Tracy's a good pick right now. Thanks, you can do it on bias now. I had to just get guys from the turn. And what's up, Scatty41? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Appreciate it. So we'll go Genty, and then let's use the best ball overlay tool. So I don't know if you guys can see that. So I have 42% Saquon with Genty. It's telling me I don't have any Hampton with Genty in post draft. So we'll do that. Apparently I don't have any together. So we'll do that. I think I'm mostly done Hampton and Kenny Walker if I'm pulling him up to the turn or something. I've done that quite a bit. But we'll get a little bit unique combo in my portfolio, I guess. I'm surprised I didn't have Hampton Genty yet. I probably had it pre-draft, but not post-draft was the thing. Gonna be great when Jacobs is in prison and Thomas is hurt by week 7. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, you take risks with hyper fragile, but that's the point, right? It's in the name. It's in the name, hyper fragile. So you're taking risks when you do a build like that, no doubt. Is Shedeur versus Watson a battle of God's quarterback versus Satan's quarterback? I think it might be. I mean, we got to call Shedeur God's quarterback in that sense. I guess he is a religious guy, so maybe it fits. At least I think he's a religious guy. I'm pretty sure their family is, but we could, but I don't know if we want to call Shedeur God's quarterback. They God's quarterback might just not be on the Browns yet. If we want to call Massage Watson the Satan's quarterback, I'd be fine with that though, I guess. 2 of 7 BBMs are hyper fragile. My ball is hanging low. Hell yeah, hell yeah. I respect it. I think I've done 11 BBMs. I think I've done 1 hyper fragile. It was okay. I picked a couple rookie receivers at the end, like Malachi Fields and shit that I don't love as much now, but I think overall it was okay. It was like a 3-4-9-2, I want to say. But yeah, I think hyperfragile can definitely be a good build type. I definitely like that build type quite a bit. Dobby, straight dog. I assume you're talking about Dobbins. Dobbins is a dog. I wish he could stay healthy for an entire year, man. Man, Dobbins is one of my favorite players, and he's such a good runner. He's explosive as a runner. It's just not a great pass catcher, to be fair, but I don't know. I wish he could stay healthy for a year. At least he got the bag though. So either way, I don't. I wouldn't feel as bad now. At least he finally got like a decent payday. So that worked out. But hopefully he can stay healthy for a year. Really show that ability. Zero RB is balls hanging low. The field is building hyper fragile. I do kind of agree with that. Hyper fragile actually feels pretty good, pretty safe. Zero RB can feel a lot more dicey. Hyper fragile, usually you want that fifth guy, but it's like, oh, let me add Emmett Johnson to this like super insane 4 RB build. Like, what is Emmett Johnson, or not even to pick him out specifically, but 16th round running back? What do they really do to that hyper fragile? Where like you go zero RB, sometimes you look at it at the end and like I don't know, the running back room, you're having a hard time envisioning how you're getting there when you only needing to start two. Um, but hyper fragile usually like actually feels really good, and then it's just that it's so like close to being like dead because you're one injury away. Um, I went 4 RB in 5 rounds for HF. HF. Or probably for HF. I don't know what HF is. Um, Yeah, I don't know what HF is. Maybe Superflex. Probably Superflex you meant. It must be, yeah, because HF, SF. Um, I think that can be totally fine. 4 RBs and 5 rounds in Superflex. I think it can be a little bit risky at quarterback, but you can really crush people at running back in that, and then you can even Superflex to running back. So it can definitely work out. Your RB is chopping off balls. Yeah, it doesn't take balls. That's what chopping off your balls looks like. I could see that. Uh I like watching these drafts, but I'd smoke rock before I play best ball. Uh wait, let me make this pick quick and then I'll get back to that. All right. So I like T Higgins here. I am a little underweight, kind of surprisingly, but I'll take him there. He feels good. Kind of the top receiver on the board. Um I wouldn't mind Lad or Tet. I think we could go Lad to do the let's do Lad. Let's do the double LAC thing. I've done that a few times. But I don't mind it. And I do really want to buy into the Chargers offense. I want to buy into McDaniel's offense, those pieces. I think they could be a big breakout offense, and just O-line injuries, both their tackles hurt last year. McDaniel's getting there. I think I'm fine double stacking them, really buying into it. The only downside is it's probably going to be pretty hard to get Herbert back. He generally will go somewhere earlier in the 7th round. I'm definitely not going to pull him up to 61. So there is a risk that I don't get Herbert back, which would be, make it a little less worthwhile to do a double stack on a team this early. Um, but I think it's a good enough team that it can be worth it. But okay, so what would you say? I like watching these drafts, but I'd smoke rock before I play best ball. I'm less likely to get addicted to freebasing. Hey, that's a good point. Know your own limits. Like, and if I don't know, like if you can get into the redraft and just like focus on your leagues, like you can get a lot more mileage out of those for your money than you do out of best ball. I love best ball because I love drafting all the teams and doing all that. But if if like watching the streams kind of gives you that feel, and then just managing your redraft and stuff is giving you a lot more mileage out of your money, I think that's a pretty good plan. It keeps it a lot more reasonable hobby, and you can still have a pretty good time doing it, still talk ball, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think that's probably a good plan. Probably a good plan if it might go overboard. Zero Hero is winning it all. I could definitely see that. Yeah. I mean, I think double anchors are up there too, but Zero or Hero, they both feel good. Hero feels really good, but I think Zero is really possible right now when you look at especially the like round 6 or 7 until like round 10 or so. That range you can pick up quite a few running backs. I think kind of hammer them in there and then either get like an earlier elite QB so you can kind of because that's kind of like the QB window for a lot of people, either go kind of like an earlier elite QB or you wait until a little bit later, get a little bit cheaper QBs. Kind of skip on the QB window to grab running backs there. I think Zero could definitely be pretty viable, but it carries more risk. I think it's a lot easier to get like dead teams and stuff out of it, but But yeah, it could definitely be the strategy that wins. I think it's I mean, I think it's always been viable. I think all strategies can be viable as long as they're not too crazy. Um, like double elite tight end and stuff, it can be viable, but that's like a lot harder to get there. But like a zero, hero, double anchor, even robust RB, those I think those can all be viable for sure. It's just about building the capital around that, like understanding what that structure is and trying to build like what makes sense capitalize, where do I have to really allocate and like really hammer that position that I faded earlier kind of thing. I'm not a hyper fragile guy, but did it in 12 spot. All right, all right. I respect it. And the 12 spot's a good spot because you can definitely double on the first turn, and then you can even double tap RB again on the next turn, or just get like one and then just get your fourth either at like the 5-6 or the 7-8. So I think the 12 spot is like really good, or right side of the board can be really good for hyper fragile. Like there's a lot of chances to do it. And I think especially like that 5-6 and 7-8 turn, you can have a lot of good options. Um, and maybe even the next turn, but it's just a little more dicey whether you get them back or not. Wow, Makai Lemon at 59. You don't see that too often now. Usually he's fallen more in like seventh even. Um, wow. I might just go double receiver. I think definitely Rome. I think Carnell Tate too. I don't have enough. I would like more Carnell Tate. I want to at least be at field, probably even a little overweight. I've mentioned a few times I want to buy in on the Titans offense, but I've come around a little bit that I think Carnell Tate. I mean, obviously, given his draft capital, I think he's clearly expected to be the wide receiver one, but I've kind of come around more to like he can be that true alpha. It might not be like he might not be like stuck kind of like really splitting with Wandale. He might really take over as that true alpha. I think the draft capital kind of shows that his ball skills, like he, I don't know, he has a lot of good factors going for him, and especially third overall in the draft. I want some more of them. I like Dable's offense. I think he's really improved quarterbacks before. We've seen it. Even with like Danny Dimes, with Jackson Dart. So I think him with Cam Ward, that might like really improve Cam Ward in that Titans offense and getting his number one pass catcher. I think that feels pretty good, and I want to get some more Carnell Tate for sure. NMB started Dynasty with Chase, Neighbors, Walker, Tyson. One QB through wide receivers, tight end premium, half PPR. On clock, do I go Bucky, Scat, Price, Lemon, Smitty, Herbert, or Kraft? Started Dynasty with Chase, Neighbors, Walker, Tyson. Do I go Bucky, Scat, Price, Lemon, Smitty, Herbert, or Kraft? One QB, so it's not super flex, so probably not Herbert. Um, God, I almost want to say Smitty. I want to say Smitty, then probably tight end. Oh, tight end premium. Probably actually Kraft, Devontae Smith, Kraft, then Smith, then Bucky. You already have a lot of receivers, so probably then Bucky, Scattaboo. No, Bucky, Price, Scattaboo, Lemon. Herbert, I think last. Maybe I'm undervaluing Herbert a little, but I think in a one QB league, it's probably not him. You probably just push QB a little. I probably lean Kraft the most. Maybe Devontae Smith. Um, that's my initial thought, though. And then thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Um, I did a modified double anchor build last night that I really liked. 4 wide receiver straight, then Bucky Tootin my first 2 RBs. Okay, nice. I mean, I think I like that start, like 4 straight, Bucky Tootin. You know, big upside swings. They both could have a little bit of downside, but if they hit, then you can have like a super strong team and probably like crazy receiver room to go with it. So yeah, I like that. They didn't touch wide receiver until then didn't touch wide receiver until round 14. Okay, yeah, and I think that's a big thing, kind of like I was saying with like it's all about how you spend the capital around those builds. Like, right, you went 4 straight and then just waited super late on your next receiver. that totally makes sense, right? Because overall you're kind of trying to balance that. Um, so yeah, no, I don't know exactly what the build was, but that seems like it makes sense, like strategy wise, conceptually. Um, I've only done a few zero RB teams, but I like everyone. I'm going to change up starting tomorrow and change builds now that I have a good chunk of teams. That makes sense. And it makes sense to like early on do the builds that you're more comfortable with. So we get Herbert back. That's great. We'll take Herbert. Um, and then I don't think I want Quentin Johnston. I don't need like a second Chargers piece because I already have Hampton and Ladd. Uh, I will probably grab my third running back here. I think that makes the most sense. We'll go Harvey over Rico just because I have 24% Rico. I have a lot of them with like all my guys too. Almost 25% of my Ricos with Odunze, 18% with Genti. So, we'll get a little bit different, get some Harvey, different for my portfolio, my combos. Get some Harvey with that. And then I think they're in a similar tier and he feels pretty good there. So yeah, definitely like him as my third RB. And right now we're at a 1-3-4-0 with Herbert, Genti, Hampton, Harvey, T. Higgins, Ladd McConkey, Romo Dunze, and Carnell Tate. I really like the start so far. All right. So, oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like early on when you're not as used to the board or like the ADPs are moving around and stuff, it can make sense to just like stick with the builds you feel most comfortable with. You feel like you know how to build out of. Because like when you do the zero RB and you haven't done very many, it can be a little bit harder to feel those pockets, right? Especially if you haven't been drafting a ton. So it makes sense to just start out with stuff you're more comfortable with. And then now it's like, okay, I know every pocket. I kind of know how I'd want to build a zero RB. Maybe I've like noticed these pockets or I've seen like in this lobby, this guy did this kind of build, whatever. So yeah, it definitely does make sense after you've gotten a few in. Now you can start changing it up, get a little bit different. Yeah, no, I like that. Komet is done. Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I wouldn't pick him really, but I think he'll be on the field some in 12 personnel. I don't know if it's enough to matter in fantasy, but I do think he'll get on the field a little bit. I'm not really picking him though, to be honest. Give my brain a break because I didn't have herb for 2 days. There you go, Brett. It'll hit like a truck when you get back on it, then at least, right? That's always the nice thing. You get that little tolerance break going. Um, but always nice to give the brain a break. You'll be drafting sharper than ever. Uh, Cole Kmet, rocket ship. That's the fakest rocket ship I ever seen. I don't know about that. He'd probably have to get off the Bears. Or yeah, actually, Bears have no plans for him. Yeah. Maybe on a different team. I mean, Cole Kmet's not the worst tight end in the world. He can block, he can catch, he can do it all. It's just, how high level can he do it all? But he can still get on the field a little bit. Just probably not enough to be super relevant for our fantasy leagues. Not their guy. Yeah. I have a few Komet teams. It's fine with Caleb. You want to mix him in, especially if like let's say you just had Luther Burden and Caleb, and in the last round, especially if it was like a 20 round format, you're like, oh, let me throw on Komet. He's a stack. If he gets in the end zone, that's probably the week he hits. Hopefully that's a spike week for Caleb. I think it's fine in that sense. I just wouldn't do it much, but I think it's fine. And obviously, if Loveland went down or anything, he has pretty big contingent upside. Not something you think about much at tight end, but it is there if that did happen. Best ball and call, balls on the table. I like that. There you go. Kincaid to the moon. Maybe he can't. His hard thing is consolidating playing time, right? Like he has a hard time getting over 50% snaps. I think we hope he's healthier this year, but even then, as a blocker, how much does that limit him getting on the field? With Dawson Knox there too. How much does that limit Kincaid's actual snap share? He was like tight end one in yards per out run last year, very efficient when he was on the field. He could step up a little bit from there. I think Kincaid's price is pretty good, but I do think his overall like true ceiling will always be limited if he can't get on the field as like a total full-time player. All right. So here I could look at I don't mind Bo Nix with my RJ Harvey. I don't mind that at all. I would be okay with Pittman too. I have picked Pittman quite a bit lately, but I think let's just grab another Pittman chair. I think that makes sense here. He is to me the top receiver available by quite a bit. I view him in a little bit higher tier than these other guys, just as far as like safety that he gives you. And I think upside is similar to any of these guys. But I think he's a pretty clear gap at receiver and at running back. I think we'd already kind of went to the next tier. Maybe I could have pulled up Rashad White, the classic call. I'm sure maybe I'll see that soon in the chat. But we're trying to go all year 2 RBs here, so Rashad didn't fit the build anyway. No, but maybe you could have pulled up a running back a little. But I don't mind getting my fifth receiver there. I feel like my top 3 running backs are strong enough where I don't really need to force it. And I like getting that little Bo Nix stack with Harvey. I can get a different Broncos receiver like super late if I want for another kind of skinnier stack. But even if not, Bo Nix has rushing upside. Harvey's kind of their number 1 receiving back. That feels all right there, even if it's not like the biggest stack. Yeah, and I don't have any Chiefs pieces, unfortunately. It's like a bring back for my Chargers. Uh yeah, I probably won't be able to do too much like week 17 or anything with it, unfortunately. But I do like Bo Nix where he goes, and I don't mind him stacked up with Harvey. Jordan Love, Malik Willis for narrative. Um I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, get the revenge game narrative going on your team. I don't mind it. I don't mind building narratives around the squad. I just missed it before I picked Bo Nix, but I like Bo Nix where he goes. Maybe I'll have to do a Love Malik Willis stack though for the revenge game narrative. Just hated every other pick in that rank in the tank range. Oh, right, because you had Barkley. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think Tank is a good pick. And like that can work if Barkley misses like a couple weeks middle of the year. Tank comes in, smashes for you for a couple weeks, or at least puts up a usable score, and then you get Barkley back and you're all good. But yeah, no, I don't mind that. I like Tank where he goes. And especially if you hate the other guys. You needed a running back. He makes sense. Tank looked great in limited snaps last year, better than Barkley. Yeah, I agree. Tank looked great last year, 100%. Oh, let me scroll down a little. Sorry. But yeah, Tank looked great last year, 100%. He was really efficient, like really high yards per carry. Yeah, and really high success rate. I think like one of the highest in the league. That is kind of a team stat, but it was better than Barkley, so it's like, yeah. Yeah, he looked great last year, and I have a decent amount of Tank. I'm like definitely bought in on Tank as the backup to Barkley. I think I was only saying it because in that draft, Best Ball On Call had Saquon, so it was the handcuffing thing. But yeah, no, I think Tank's a great pick where he goes. All right, here I wouldn't mind Tracy if this guy doesn't take him. All right, so I'll probably grab Tracy. Let's look at running back quick. Next running back's Woody Marks. I'm not a huge Woody Marks guy. I took him in last draft, but only because he was the last guy there. We did have someone hyping up Dalton Kincaid. They said Dalton Kincaid the moon. So let's take Dalton Kincaid. He's going to the moon, baby. I was just talking down on him so I could get him on a little bit of a faller. You know how it goes. Got to mush the guy when you're streaming. Um, but no, I don't mind that there. I think Kincaid can definitely give you spike weeks. He'll be a little bit more inconsistent since his role is kind of like I said, like he's never going to be a full like 80-90% snap player. Um, but he can definitely give you spike weeks, plays on one of the best offenses in the league, and can be a big playmaker too as a tight end. He can get downfield targets and everything. So definitely don't mind him as my tight end one. Probably try to build a 3 tight end room around him, of course. But he can definitely give me spike week upside, like not many tight ends back here probably can. Handcuffs are good on a 5 RB team. Yeah, no, I mean I can agree. I can agree. There's certain situations for sure where they can work out. Better than Barkley is wild. Yeah, I think there's some stats he was better than Barkley technically, but you also got to remember small sample. Um, Reminds me of how Zamir White looks better than Josh Jacobs. Yeah, kind of similar to that because there's no way Tank's better than Barkley. Like, but he did look pretty good in that limited usage. So maybe that does show us that if Barkley goes down, Tank can really shoulder the load, right? We're not as worried about him getting replaced by Will Shipley. We're not as worried about that. So maybe I think it more gives us confidence that Will Shipley maybe won't be that dude. Will Shipley, he definitely looked worse than Tank, but he had some little moments, but he dealt with a lot of injuries last year. Um, just what Eagles fans were saying. Um, just so that the tank looked better than Barkley. Yeah. No, we don't even need Barkley. We got a guy even better. Our backup's better than your RB1. Uh, they hate their own team, so take it with a grain of salt. Oh, okay. So it's more like a shit talking Barkley thing. Yeah. Yeah. Philly fans are brutal. Yeah, you have one bad game. I mean, you're dead to them basically. Eagles fans are crazy, literally. Yeah, no, for real. Eagles are I've never been to an Eagles game in Philly, but they're supposed to be one of the nastiest fan bases. Like, they don't really like the outsiders. They don't mess with you if you aren't wearing the Eagles gear. So, and they don't even mess with you if you play for the Eagles either. They'll boo those guys out of the building. So yeah, Eagles fans are rough. Eagles fans were saying there's no way AJB would get traded either. That is true early on. I think they accepted it. I saw some people like even after Lemon get drafted. I got like recommended like a Reddit post or something, and it was like guys, I think AJB might really be gone. It's like yeah, buddy. I've been building Drake May stacks with him for 2 months, bud. But I think the Makai Lemon was the moment where the Eagles fans, for the most part, kind of came around like, oh, okay, if we're taking a first round receiver, we're probably not keeping our receiver then, are we? Um, all right. What am I doing here? Boston, I think, is the move. Do I go Jonah Coleman? I don't think so. I don't think I like him even as a handcuff because I don't really think he has that contingent upside. I don't, he's not even like truly a handcuff because he's still going to be behind whoever isn't hurt if Harvey or Dobbins get hurt. So I think I just go. I mean, if it autos me Jalen McMillan, that's fine. Yeah, I was kind of just debating receivers. Like, I don't love Antonio Williams' price. I was thinking about grabbing more Debo, but I have so much. We'll take McMillan. He got bumped down a little because like there was one little report about Ted Hurst would be a good X receiver. We'll get McMillan a little on the faller. Obviously, Mike Evans is gone. That kind of opens up a role for McMillan to maybe get out on the field. Obviously, rookie year had that huge like touchdown streak, or I don't know if it was a streak, but had a really good touchdown numbers. Definitely could have a chance to step up. I think all those Bucks guys will. I like betting on them to bounce back. And then Boston, I think, just goes too cheap given his draft capital, given how wide open that receiver room is, kind of too. Like Boston could very easily be the wide receiver one. I know Conception was drafted higher than him, and Judy's kind of established, but Boston was only picked, I don't know, maybe like a dozen picks later than KC Conception, roughly. I think it's like around pick 24 versus 36. Or 24 might have been Omar Cooper, but either way, the delta between like Boston and KC might not be very big, and Boston goes quite a bit cheaper. So I don't mind grabbing pieces of him, and Cooper too. I mean, Cooper goes super late too. Didn't make it to me, but I like these two guys here. I'm not as big on McMillan. I'm more betting on other pieces of that offense, in the Buccaneers offense, but I don't mind it. And I wanted to get a little bit different from like always clicking Debo. I'm starting to slow down a little bit on Debo just because I thought he would be signed by now. Still waiting. So I want to slow down just a tiny bit on him. But don't mind getting a little bit more McMillan there. Uh, oh shit. Up neighbors health kind of terms it. Big neighbors guy. Hard not take him at 3-4. What do we think about my Shadur versus Watson question in chat? Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I did get to that. I did get to that. I just realized I'm about 30 minutes behind. So we'll get caught up. We'll try to catch up. Can't guard Malik is man. Mooney's also man. I draft them both everywhere. Yeah, no, it's really just the injuries that are scary with Malik, but I agree. I mean, he is the man. He could easily be wide receiver one if he was healthy. I had a CD AJB Zay Neighbors start. Damn, that's a nice start. CD AJB Zay Neighbors. Yeah, that's a nice start. I like that. I like that. Good luck, everyone, from the beginning of the draft. I wasn't gonna take Naked Chuck. Fair. Zero loves Rashad. He does love Rashad. Let's go. Hell yeah, let's go, Danimal. Rashad, my most drafted RB post draft, survived love not going there, and people don't are. JCM is hurt and people don't care. Yeah, no, that's true. People aren't really dropping him it off over that news. They don't seem very concerned. Sorry. Let me go down. Uh, but yeah, no, that's true. People aren't really concerned about the JCM falling, and Love was a risk to go there, so that was kind of a case against them. But yeah, I mean, Rashad is a good pick for sure. Your favorite pick, as some would say. Uh, Casual Chad viewer 5256. Hey, what's up, bro? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. We'll listen while drafting. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for stopping by, bro. Buddy man here. Don't know you had a channel. Oh, hey, what's up? What's up, Mike? Thanks for stopping by, bro. I've seen you in quite a few of the chats. Yeah, we I started it last year, but just kind of getting in the consistent swing of things, getting like just more consistent, trying to get more comfortable with it and having more scheduled streams, kind of thing like that. But yeah, but I appreciate you stopping by, man. Uh and we'll definitely check out your team. I knew when I saw Buddy, man, I knew that was someone that I'd seen before. I think we'll just go double tight end here. I was kind of thinking about the fifth running back. I think my running backs are strong enough. I just like push a little, get the third tight end. Like I was saying with Kincaid, maybe playing a little bit less snaps. I want to kind of, I want to kind of stack out three that I feel at least decently confident in. And I think now I probably just go two running backs tended out. Maybe one running back, one receiver would be fine. But I'll kind of see what comes back to me on the turn. Say more zero. Why are you on R White with such enthusiasm? I'll let Zero handle that one, but he's all in. I'm in the fan speak chat sometimes. Okay, yeah, that's right. I've seen you. Yeah, the fan speak chat. I'm optimistic, but not so enthused. Yeah, I'm kind of with you where I'm optimistic on Rashad White and just like what his role could be in that backfield. He kind of has the best chance to take over as the best like pass catcher and like pass protection blocker. Um, but JCM did seem like a pretty good pure runner. So I think it's how much confidence you have that Rashad White like can realistically take over as the lead rusher of the team, right? Is he capped to kind of being more the receiving back? And like, do they split the rushing work? Do they split the goal line work? Like how much of that goes to Rashad? I think the pass catching work though is pretty locked down for him. And you can't really say that JCM has anything locked down for sure. I think we think he's probably a better pure rusher than Rashad White, but I don't think there's a guarantee that JCM gets more rushing work where I think there's almost a guarantee that Rashad gets the most receiving work on the team. So I think that's where you kind of get the difference between them and maybe where Rashad has the chance to take over and the other guys don't as much. That's kind of how I'm thinking of it. Um, but I'm a little bit closer to like optimistic, but not quite as enthused on Rashad White. But I'm optimistic that he could be the main guy if any of them will be. JCM hurt and Katron is falling. It's weird. I like it though. I like it too. I like the Katron falling. As you guys may know, if you've seen my streams before, I pick very much Katron. So, uh, Katron falling. I mean, that feels decent. I don't really need more, but I don't mind it either being such a fragile backfield. Uh, but I think Rashad White is probably the one I want to buy into the most right now, just because JCM is hurt and I do have a little bit lower exposure to White, so I wouldn't mind grabbing some more. All right. So here, I think we go running back for sure. We definitely need a fifth running back on this team. Uh, wouldn't mind Marshawn Lloyd. That way I can win the Fell For It Again award. I have 3%, which isn't too bad. I don't have any Kamani. He does stack. I have a big. Oh no, I have Hampton, so I won't do that. I could, we've been talking about the handcuffs. It wouldn't be the worst thing, but Hampton was the 13th overall pick for me in this draft, right? So I'm hoping he just stays healthy and smashes all year. I wouldn't mind Ferguson or Jasicki. If I don't go with them, I don't love the receivers. Could go with like a Troy Franklin. Let's go with Troy Franklin, actually. Let's do that. I think my tight end room was fine with Kincaid, Helm, Fryermuth, so that felt fine. Didn't need like a fourth or anything. I was kind of thinking about it since I went a little bit later, but I think that's good enough. And then I'll just go over the team real quick. I have a 2-5-8-3, Herbert and Nix at QB, perfectly fine with that. Two strong QBs, feels good. I like a third sometimes, like I've said, but I think those two are playing strong enough. Genty, Hampton, Harvey, Tracy, Marshawn Lloyd. I feel like that's a pretty good running back room. My top my top two, it's kind of like a double anchor. Hopefully they hit the lineup every week. Harvey has a good role, good offense. Hopefully he's hitting my flex pretty often. Tracy should have somewhat of a role. We'll see how much, but he has good contingent upside, hopefully. Lloyd, good contingent upside if he can stay on the field himself, I guess. Higgins, Ladd, Rome, Carnell Tate, Michael Pittman, Boston, Jalen McMillan, Troy Franklin. I feel like my receiver room's fine too. You know, my top four I think are pretty solid. Obviously, we're putting some faith in Tate as the rookie on Tennessee, but he's drafted high enough that I think I kind of have to put faith in him. And then Pittman as my five, though, feels really solid. Boston, McMillan, Troy Franklin, kind of all upside swings. You know, could be big red zone guys as far as McMillan, Boston. Franklin catch some deep shots. So yeah, I think I feel pretty good with the team overall. You know, maybe would have liked a fifth RB a little bit better than Lloyd. But I think overall I feel pretty solid with it. I think I like the team overall. All right. So let me catch up with you guys a little bit and then I will go over the rest of the teams. All right. I'm not a Rashad guy historically. Yeah, no, I know you're in this year. I faded in Bucky's rookie year was 20% Bucky. It's on DK with PPR. Okay, got you. See, yeah, kind of different scoring and stuff. But that room is pretty weak for the Redskins. He has a friendship with JD5, and he's the best pass catcher and pass protector. Solid goal line due to his size, explosive runner, just vision isn't good. Right. No, I agree. And it's not like JCM is, you know, JCM's a good explosive runner, but it's not like he doesn't have his problems, right? I think he had a pretty high stuff rate. And I think he can be a little bit boom busty as a runner where it's kind of like, you know, maybe he hits the home run sometimes, but maybe sometimes he kind of stalls out drives. For JCM, I'm saying. So yeah, I definitely can agree with that. Can't do DK, so I got away from him, but then back on with Bill soft tissues. Can't do DK, so I'm back in with Bill soft tissues. Oh, with Bills, yeah, Bill JCM, right, Rashad White. Okay, got you. And you're picking more Rashad White and DK. Okay, that all makes sense. His vision has improved over the years. Still not consistent runner though. Tape loves Rashad. Yeah, no, and I mean Rashad can kind of do it all, and he's not the best running back in the world at anything, but he can do it all at like a respectable NFL level. And if the other guys can't and they can't do it consistently, then that can get him on the field significantly more than them, right? I mean, JCM showed some upside, but he also showed some holes in his game, and he's definitely not as good of a pass protector or pass catcher as Rashad. Great points from zero. Would be surprised if Rashad just consolidates 80% of the work eventually. 80% seems a little high, but maybe, yeah. I can see it. He's a volume guy, does everything, just not amazing. Only RB that can consolidate. Amazing pass protector. Agree. You're smart, zero. I'm not a PFF guy. PFF always ranks him high. DGen. Yeah. Thanks for your thoughts on that. I've always taken a ton for Rashad until now. Shadur is 100% God's QB. He's got all the black antes on his side. All right. Fair enough. You won me over. We'll call him God's QB now. Jacob Sanderson having 42% Rashad White makes me worried though. Gonna take Rashad White while I took Zay. Gonna take Rashad like I took Zay. All right, so you're gonna hammer him. I'm assuming that means. But hell yeah, so you won Brett over, maybe one Scatty over. You know, maybe in the redraft leagues he'll be picking Rashad White late on his teams. Cheers. Zay Snipe was brutal. Hyper fragile. Zero knows my language. I've done hyper fragile with Henderson, Judkins, RJ, Rashad White. Gonna check JT, ETN, Henderson, Swift on a hyper fragile. That's good enough. Yeah, that's solid. Yeah, because Swift as your four, totally solid hyper fragile. Anyone that goes in like the 6th round, if they're your RB4, you can stop at 4 if you want and feel solid. You just don't want overlapping buys. If you can avoid overlapping buys with any of the 4 and you get like any of those guys that go in the 6th round as your 4th, you're totally good to go hyper fragile. You don't have to, but that'd be reasonable. I don't think anyone would say that's not reasonable. Unless they just don't believe in hyper fragile in general. But I mean, it's one BBM before, so you kind of have to. Who's your 5th pick, Brett? On a candle stream, AJB in the 3rd with May. Oh, nice. Yeah, nice. That's a solid start. Solid start at least. Sounds like AJB and May, those 4 running backs. Hell yeah, really. I like it. AJB round 2. Pittman, Diggs, Tucker, Tesla, Trey Harris, Vele, Booty. I mean, you know, top 3 pretty solid. Tesla, Trey Harris, Vele, Booty. Hopefully they give you some spikes. Kraft, Kelsey, Helm. Yeah, really solid tight end room. May, Mahomes, Chuck, solid QB room, really strong QB room, actually. That's probably where a little of that receiver capital went, but sounds like a pretty solid team overall. I think I like it. For a hyper fragile, I mean, I think it's good RB room too. On a candle stream, so tough room. Hope it's good enough to advance. What a play by Hockey pushing Joe Burrow and getting him in May. Oh, nice. I'll check that out in a second. I will check out your guys' team. I'm very close to catching up to the stream, so I'm very close. Uh, got a Genty Walker Dowdle, Marks Hyper Fragile 2, 3 QB by 83. Jesus is actually a sick team. Nice, nice. Genty Walker Dowdle Marks. I mean, Marks doesn't feel as good as the fourth. I'm gonna be honest with you, but that is. I mean, that it sounds interesting. 3 QB by 83. If you got some nice receiver values on it, I can see how it would be a sick team, like for sure. But yeah, I mean, I can see how it would be a sick team. Probably has a sick QB room. Those top three RBs are pretty nice. What's up, family? What's up, Who Ames? Who Ames actually starting in like 4 minutes. I'll drop the link for his channel. I'm gonna go off after this. I will look at everyone's team, all that kind of stuff, catch up with chat. But he's gonna start at 4:30. He's doing Superflex drafts, I think. So if you want to check out more drafts, make sure to go over to his stream. He's starting in like 2 minutes. Um, but yeah, that's his. I dropped Who Aim's link right there. So if anyone wants to watch, he's starting in just a few minutes. But I will look at anyone that was in the draft. I'll check out your team and stuff. I'm gonna catch up. I'm only a couple comments behind, so I'll catch up pretty quick. I had so much commit pre-draft last year. My bank doesn't pay out for directionally accurate. Turns out. That's yeah, no, that's a good point. They don't want to give you those Sklansky bucks, you know. But yeah, pre-draft he felt great, right? I think I also had so much pre-draft. Like I was thinking at first, like, oh no, I didn't because I didn't pick any post-draft, right? Obviously, not many people did pick very much, but pre-draft I had a ton. He was on my higher owned tight ends, I think, because I had a ton of Bears. I was all in on Burden, like any of them, or not. Well, I wasn't on Burden. He wasn't a Bear yet, but I did pick a lot of Burden before the draft. But Rome, less on DJ Moore. That was the only guy I was kind of out on. But I was picking like so much Rome. I had over 20% pre-draft. Um, and yeah, and I was picking Komet for sure, like late because I had a lot of Caleb too. So I definitely got burned by that same thing. I lied, no Komet, thought I did. Oh, okay, there you go, Brett. So you were really cooking then. There we go. It's easy to be efficient when you're getting less carries. That is true. Small sample size have led many people astray throughout time. I will give you that one. Small sample sizes can lead you down the path of destruction. And game plan isn't for Tank, it's for Saquon. That's true. That's true. And they are kind of different style players. GM, hey, what's up, Fantasy Football Garage? My dog. Thanks for stopping by, brother. Appreciate it. Fantasy Football Garage, he recently hit 1,000 subscribers. He's gonna do a big marathon stream soon. Anything but drafting. But if anyone doesn't know, make sure you check out Fantasy Football Garage. I'm sure if you're in my chat, you know though. Just had someone take Laporta and Ferguson at 33 and 37. 33 and 37. So they're trying to get it thrown out or something, or I don't know what those people are doing, just trolling, I guess. That's unfortunate. Hopefully it just ends up in you getting some extra values and hopefully they don't throw it out. But always unfortunate when you see someone do some nonsense like that. Hopefully it ends up in you getting some values and you don't get an email. We've recently thrown out your draft for unusual activity or whatever it says. Sheesh, Hockey can push Burrow, but I can't push Mendoza. GG's. Don't review my team. It's terrible. LOL. All right. I mean, we'll maybe take a quick peek, but I won't be hard on it or nothing. Started Dynasty with Chase, Neighbors, Walker, Tyson. On the clock, do I go Bucky, Scat? I did say earlier, so I'd go, and and I missed it. I missed it for a while. I'd be Kraft, Smitty, Bucky, Price. I'd be Kraft, Smitty, Bucky, Scattaboo, Lemon, Price, Lemon, Herbert. I don't know, probably Kraft or Smitty. Those are my guys up top for that one, I think. Smitty is a little older, but I think a lot safer. Click Katron a bunch. He's solid in Algier way, and we've seen him take the job from a more talented athlete in Singleton. Yeah, no, I clicked Katron. I mean, we can see I just updated it before this draft, I think. So I have 35.8% Katron Allen. Um, I'm right with you, Kriyath. I am right with you. I have so much Katron. I'll probably get it down a little bit from there, but I could easily see staying over 20%, especially if he's going to be this cheap. Backfield I want to make bets on. Very weak competition, I think. So yeah, definitely. I love Katron. Don't know why people are so skeptical of his draft capital, and JCM was a seventh rounder. Could see him becoming the starter. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's like people are calling JCM the like. It's weird how much hype JCM gets, or like how much people think JCM is safe, just because he had like a decent rushing performance last year. Like he did rush for almost 800 yards, and had a decent yards per carry, and the team was pretty dysfunctional. But like those seventh round guys, they just don't have the commitment from the team. If Katron can outperform him even a little in practice, like JCM doesn't have that investment from the team to hold on to a role if Katron can show it on the field, right? So yeah, I totally agree. I'm buying into Katron because of that. There's so little investment into JCM or into Rashad, even, right? I mean, they paid him like 2 mil, one of the lowest paid free agent running backs this year. At least of guys that matter that we're drafting. So yeah, no, totally agree. And I do want to kind of buy into all the pieces because I think it could be such a good offense. But I totally agree. Katron, so much cheaper. That's kind of the way I'm buying in right now. Um, JCM was basically our generation's Jerome Ford, who doesn't catch passes. Uh, yeah, and Jerome Ford is mostly for his pass catching value. To be honest, that's his biggest benefit. But yeah, JCM's not a bad runner, but that's true. Can tell you've been doing this a long time. Appreciate the knowledge. Oh, I mean, yeah, fantasy football, probably like 15 years. I think I started playing when I was like 12 years old or something. So probably like 15, 16 years ago. But best ball, I mean, I've been doing best ball a minute, try to I don't know. I try to do the best I can, try to research. I watch a lot of streams and stuff, but try to research, or if I do different contests, figure out what's like most helpful or what works out structurally. I think kind of like structure and roster construction are like kind of my strengths overall as far as playing best ball. But I mean, different people have different strats. But thank you for the kind words, Danimal. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, bro. And yeah, I appreciate it. If Daniel stays healthy, Merritt will be a good pick. Um, I can agree with that most likely. Like we were kind of saying though, I think I do lean a little bit more towards the Rashad. I think Katron's fine, but JCM could definitely be a good pick too. I think if Daniels is healthy, you just want pieces. Anyone that has a reasonable role, you want pieces because the scoring upside might be so high. They have a weak receiver core other than Terry. And yeah, and just you want pieces of that offense if Jaden Daniels is healthy. How many time slots left for people to make a name for themselves? Oh, not many time slots left for people to make a name for themselves. And what's up, Magnolia? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Yeah, no, I mean it's crowded out here. It's crowded out here, but I mean it's good. I watch all the content, so gives me even more to watch. Actually, I mean if you want to watch the stream right now, I'm about to end, but Who Hames is live right now. He's doing his Superflex and Sundays, so we're I don't know, yeah, trying to get in where we fit in, kind of thing. But it is pretty fun hopping on here, talking some ball, rip a couple teams. It's always a good time. I wish I didn't put myself in draft jail until tomorrow night. Um, yeah, I mean, hey, there's always time to draft. There's always streams to draft along with, or join one right after them, whatever. But there's always drafts to join. So taking a little break here and there is not bad. Don't get yourself burnt out on it or nothing. It'll just make you more excited to do the next one, right? So it works out. I'd have Price pretty high for Dynasty. Yeah, maybe I am underrating Price a little. I think he's a tough one for me because like obviously there's the Charbonnet risk. Once he comes back, how much does Price really take over for him? But I think I'm still Kraft Smitty up top, but I could easily see Price like kind of being debated with those guys, where it's like the third guy over the other guys on that list. Zero fucks over Bucky and Scat. Yes. Yeah, that's maybe debatable. Yeah. I can see the argument for sure. Like the draft capital and Seahawks franchise more. 2026 is different than full career arc. Yeah. Yeah, I think I pretty much agree. I do worry about him kinda being like new Ken Walker where he gets cucked by Charbonnet in, like, the more critical role, but I don't know, I can see the argument for Price over those guys. I mean, Price only goes a little bit lower than them in redraft, and he's the rookie, right? He should be worse. Um, like JCM last year, and we deserve to see him do his 2 down slasher thing with Daniels healthy. Cost is still a little high for me, though. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I mean, the 2 down slasher thing, he did pretty good with that bad offense. So it would be nice to see it with Daniels. Maybe he is like really efficient, can really break off some big runs. But yeah. I don't know. I agree. They could all be good picks, though. It's so hard, like with that offense being so good. What we deserve and what we get is different. That is facts. Truer words never spoken. We didn't deserve for 160-pound Tank Dell to get 2 devastating injuries, but that happens when you're undersized in the red zone. That's true. That's one of the more unfortunate ones. Tank Dell, like, too undersized, too small to work in the NFL and just crushes as a rookie. Maybe not crushes, but comes on late, has some really big performances, and then just back to back brutal injuries. I mean, you hate to see it, but part of the NFL, unfortunately. Hopefully he comes back and can, be something still, but hate to see it. You guys have me feeling good about this K-Tron selection. Oh yeah, no, you cooked with that one. You cooked with that one. And I'll check out the teams in 1 second. I'm only a couple comments behind now. We've about made it. One of these Dell injuries was a free accident with his teammates taking his legs out, similar to Mahomes Rice. So unlucky. Really hope he can come back to what he was. I do too. And it might take a little bit of time. Like, I'm not taking much this year because I think it might take a little bit for him to kind of get back to that. But I'm also really hopeful on that he can come back and we can really see him like win downfield again and be kind of one of Stroud's favorite targets, kind of one of his go-to guys. That would be awesome to see. Freak injuries can happen more when you're undersized. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just physics, right? Like it's a lot easier to like make their body move at an unnatural angle when they just like weigh less, right? Your hit is going to do more to them because they're just less weight. They move easier, right? So yeah. They didn't re-sign Walker. There's no guarantee they even re-sign him depending on cost. Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean that's fair. Yeah, about Sharp. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. I was just thinking as maybe like some of the downside with Sharp or with Price, but because it is a tough range. I think they're pretty debatable because like those were all decently young running backs and like obviously Price the rookie's the youngest, but no, I was just kind of thinking like maybe of a risk with them, but yeah, there's no guarantee for sure. And Sharps might command him a pretty good payday. The first tank injury when they had him blocking on an inside run. Um, yeah, no, it's unfortunate when it's stuff like that where it's not even like it wasn't even like a good play for the guy and they get hurt on something like that. That always sucks. Yeah, that was bad coaching. LOL. Tank was older and undersized. Bad combo. Yeah, yeah. No, it's unfortunate. There's no way I'm taking day 2, day 3 over RBs over Price in Dynasty. Yeah. I mean, but they've shown it in the NFL before, right? I don't know. I think Scadaboo, I think Price makes sense because Scadaboo seems really risky, like, to, Scadaboo seems like he's around for a good time, not a long time. Bucky, I feel like I'm, turning more and more into a Bucky slappy. I'm defending his honor almost every day these days. But I don't know. It's tough. Price could have the upside, but I probably still would lean Bucky by a little bit. I believe in Bucky enough. I know he doesn't have the draft capital, and that can really hurt the RBs. I think he's shown enough though, multiple years being like elusive, being a tackle breaker, that that like he at least will have longer term value in the NFL. I don't think he's just going to be like a James Robinson where he has that decent year and just gets replaced. I think he's too talented for something like that, even with the lesser capital investment. Maybe he's not a buck in a couple of years, but I think he's still a lead back in the NFL in a couple of years, unless the injuries really catch up. And Bucky we trust. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. With all that said, let's take a look at the rosters quick if you guys are in here. And then we'll hop out. Already posted. Want to check out link stream. Drop that link again. All right, we'll take a look at the teams real quick and then we'll get out of here. All right, so there was me. We already looked at my team. On real time, Thad went with a 2.673. He did Dart, Jared Goff. Totally fine stopping at 2 with that QB room. I think anyone up to Baker Mayfield or so with Dart. Like, if you got Dart and then anyone up to, like, Baker Mayfield, Chuck, kind of that range, I think you're fine stopping at 2. Goff, Dart feels perfectly fine. Chase Brown, Quinshawn, Jadarian Price, Corey Merritt, Keaton Mitchell, Ray Davis. I think it's a solid running back room. You know, you have your 3 strong guys up top. Quinshawn and Chase Brown, you feel really confident are like the bell cows on their team, carrying the load. Price, you know, I think early in the year, he has weak competition. You may get a little bit of concern about late in the year if Charbonnet comes back, taking a little goal line, high value touches or something. But I think Price with his draft capital, as good as that team should be, they should be winning games for the most time. Feels solid as your RB3. JCM feels solid as your RB4, right? Like you were saying, if Daniels was healthy, he could really smash. I think, you know, like we were kind of saying, or I was kind of saying, like all those Washington pieces feel like decent bets where they go. Could just be a really high end offense. You got the missile, Keaton Missile, love it. Mike McDaniel's putting up wanted posters for this guy, and he puts up like 6 yards per carry a year. You know, I mean, efficiency monster, he just won't get the touches. But what happens when he goes to a coach that wants to give him the touches? You know, Ray Davis, great contingent upside, not much standalone value, but could really be a great value, huge hammer to add value to this running back room if Cook goes down. And then Amon-Ra, Neighbors, Amika, Josh Downs, Juwan Jennings, Jalen Naylor, Elijah Surratt, Schultz, AJ Barner, and Njoku. Tight ends, fine. Maybe a little bit on the weaker side, but if you believe in Njoku, I think it's fine overall. Schultz and Barner should be like, you know, Schultz pulls in a lot of targets every year. Barner can maybe give you some spike week, should be a decent target on that offense. And then Njoku maybe gives you some spikes. Maybe he kind of plays over Gadsden. I think tight end's fine. Receiver feels okay. Obviously, you're taking a little bit of a risk with Neighbors. I do think it helps you got a guy like Downs, you know, a little more steady, feel maybe a little bit safer. I'm not as big on Juwan since he went to Minnesota. I think he'll be like he'll have a role for sure. I just don't know how consistent that'll be, and if like when he does spike, if it'll be enough. But I don't mind it. You know, Naylor could be wide receiver 1 on Vegas. He should at least get some decent targets just with the lack of competition, how much they paid him. You know, Surratt just kind of a rookie upside guy. I think I like it overall. You know, Neighbors, you're putting maybe a little bit of faith in, just like hopefully as long as he doesn't miss more than a couple weeks. I think you're really solid at receiver though. Running back looked really strong. Quarterback was strong. Tight end was fine. I think it's a solid build overall. You know, I think I see it. I notice it with a lot of Neighbors builds right now, and maybe I'm just kind of picking on it because it's like that's the hot news right now is all the Neighbors stuff, and I'm like worrying a little bit too much. But that's just the thing with like a lot of the Neighbors builds where I'm feeling right now. I'm like, ah, well, maybe you would have wanted to build a little more robust in case you missed a little time, but I think how you built it was totally fine. I think the team's pretty strong overall. If Neighbors doesn't miss time or only missed a couple weeks, I think you're in a really good spot with it. All right, let's look at Zero Fucks. Yeah, Zero Fucks. He went with a 3.663. Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Tua, fine QB room. You know, a little bit on the weaker side, I guess, but should be fine. Tua should start week 1. Hopefully, he starts all year, kind of thing. You know, Baker and Dimes is fine. You know, maybe you're a little bit weaker early in the year because Dimes doesn't have that rushing upside, but, you know, that's when Tua should be starting almost, like, guaranteed. So, you know, I think it feels okay overall. I like Baker where he goes. Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Rashad White, Tyler Algier, Jonah Coleman, Brian Robinson. Pretty solid RB room. You know, you did kind of a double anchor, got the value on Jacobs, right? Pair that with JT. Kind of buy into that by waiting for RB for a while. You get White, you wait again for Algier. I think it's pretty good overall. You did a double anchor. Hopefully those guys hit every week. You know, if Rashad kind of is I don't know if you call him a breakout guy because he's been in the NFL for a while, but if he is like a great value where he goes, then that can really charge up your flex spot. And then just some contingent guys, maybe some good upside after that. The running back feels pretty good overall. You know, maybe a little bit riskier with like only 2 real guaranteed like high touch guys. Um, but you know, Rashad's at least getting on the field, at least splitting kind of worst case. So that feels pretty good. Drake London, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Marvin Harrison, Alec Pierce, Jaden Reed. I think this is fine for a 6 receiver room. I like pretty much all these guys where they go. Uh, I think, you know, you've locked up a ton of targets with London and Olave. Jason's a little more spiky, so maybe he's a little more risky. Marvin Harrison, hopefully, like, kind of steps up as that wide receiver 1. Maybe your third receiver is kind of bouncing around, but that's good because all these guys can spike different weeks. Uh, and then Olave and London can hopefully just hold down that wide receiver 1 and 2 spot. Tight end, Kyle Pitts, Cade Otton, Michael Mayer. That's fine because you have Pitts. Pitts Otton would have been fine. You did grab the third this time, just a little bit extra. So, I respect that. Michael Mayer, maybe not the strongest piece, but he could get on the field, especially if Bowers gets hurt. But even if not, he might get on the field more 12 personnel, stuff like that. Overall, I think pretty solid team, though. I like it overall. Um, maybe you would've liked I think it's fine because you went with the stronger receivers and stuff early. Because I was gonna say maybe a little bit more help at QB, like, a little earlier than Tua would've been nice. But, I think it's fine. I think it's perfectly respectable with those 3. But yeah, overall, I think solid build. I really like the receiver room. Like, I like all the picks. I think they're layering really good. Really like that room. Uh, but overall, I like the team. So, Buddy Man Buddy Man had 2,772. Jaden Daniels, Sam Darnold, totally fine. You got an elite. You got a guy who's has basically no bench risk or anything. Hopefully passes more this year with Darnold. So decent 2 QB room. I think it's fine. Breece Hall, Bucky Irving, Kyle Manning guys, Zach Charbonnet, Sean Tucker, Katron Allen, Kamani Vidal. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I think you put a lot of volume at the end. Bucky and Breece, you're kinda relying on them to be your RB1 and 2. You're hoping Monangai has, like, a weekly solid role. I think he will have a role. He's more of just like Swift is more of the pass catcher, obviously, so it might be hard for Monangai to really give you, like, a ton of usable weeks without injury. Um, but, good scoring upside. He might be more the goal line back. So I don't mind it. I don't love Charbonnet. Where he goes, but you do get more guys after him. You got Tucker, hopefully he gives you a little bit of spikes. Katron Allen could take over a bigger workload. We were talking about that. Kamani Vidal, if Hampton goes down, he might be the more likely guy to kind of take over as the lead back rather than Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell might just kind of be stuck as the rotational back just because of, kind of his build, play style, etc. Um, I think RB's fine though. You probably put enough volume into it for it to be fine. Bucky and Brees go a long way the top 2 spots, hopefully. Uh, but, I mean, I think volume-wise is okay. Maybe I woulda liked a 4th before Charbonnet or something like that. Either a 4th before Charbonnet or a better 3rd than Monangai. I think that would've felt better, but I think with the volume, you did enough that it makes sense. I think it feels fine. And then at receiver, JSN, Nico, Terry McLaurin, Michael Wilson, Matthew Golden, Jalen Coker, Torrey Horton. So really strong top 3, even got a decent, like, 4th with Michael Wilson, got Golden, got Coker. So you kinda, like, did 3 pretty early, then took a little break, but then kinda hammered 3 straight. I think that's good capital at receiver. I think your receiver room looks pretty strong overall. Got a couple stacks in there, like, you doubled up Darnold. You got Terry stacked up with Jaden, right? I think your receiver room looks solid overall. I think you spent capital pretty well there. But yeah, solid. Craft Strange, solid tight end room too. I like that. Kind of a borderline elite guy, you could say. And then Brenton Strange, one of my favorite tight end values on the board. He's actually in the thumbnail today. Yeah, but one of my favorite tight ends on the board, Brenton Strange. And with Kraft, that feels fine. But yeah, I think solid team overall. You know, I'm also a little bit of a Monin guy hater, so maybe that was why I was saying a little bit better third. But I think your running back room is like reasonable. I think I maybe would have just tried to either get a little bit higher capital fourth or spend a little bit more on the third. Um, but that's just me, and I do think the team's, like, pretty good overall. I'm just kinda nitpicking. Let's check out RB1, Drew, and then we'll check out Danimal. I'll look at Hockey Hooligan last just in case he is watching, but I don't think he is. So RB1, Drew did a 3,582, Brock Purdy, Cam Ward, Kirk Cousins. Feel like that's okay. Obviously, it's a little bit on the weaker side, but I think it's okay. You can get away with a lot at QB. Like, there's a lot of options. Like, if you stop at Purdy Ward, it feels a little weaker, but it is viable. I think adding Kirk, that gives you a little bit more floor early season. Maybe he starts longer than a lot of people think. Starts the majority of the year, gives you kind of a good floor ceiling. Maybe plays through these guys buys, helps you through that. I think QB's fine though, but a little bit on the weaker side, obviously. Kyron, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, Tyjae Spears, Mike Washington. I think running back's fine. Kyron Swift, Warren, Kyron and Swift, kind of the lead guys on their teams, both very good offenses. Warren, hopefully, we hope it's a decent offense. He has a chance to be the lead guy. You're kind of drafting him a little bit higher than Dowdle, right? So hopefully he's the lead guy, but he's getting work, getting some of that receiving work. IJ, good contingent upside. Hopefully, he gets some receiving work. Maybe taking a little bit of a hit with Singleton, but he's a lot cheaper. And then Mike Washington, good contingent upside as well. The Genty, no one really behind him on the Raiders depth chart. Could have some standalone value, if they decide to take Genty off the field a little bit just to rest him. But I think he's more contingent upside swing. I think running back's fine. Maybe a little bit like no, I think it's fine because Warren as your third, that feels good enough. Um, wouldn't have minded a stronger fourth, but I think it's good enough. Puka, Mike Evans, Parker Washington, Quentin Johnston, Wandale Robinson, Trey Tucker, Dejon Stribling, Malik Washington, and then Bowers Kittle at tight end. So Bowers Kittle at tight end's great. You got an elite, get Kittle with them. If Kittle misses the first 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever, who cares? Bowers can cover them all. And then Kittle can really help you spike late in the year, hopefully, right? So that feels great at tight end. I think your receiver room feels fine too. Your top three are strong. I'm not the biggest Parker Washington guy, but I think where he goes is pretty reasonable. He definitely showed that upside last year down the stretch. But Puka, Mike Evans, Parker Washington is kind of your top three solid guys. Hopefully, all the wide receiver ones on their team. Like that's what I'm saying. Maybe Parker, that's a little more debatable, but I think you can make the argument he's a wide receiver one on his team. QJ, good deep ball guy, could give you some spikes. Wandale, maybe a little safer floor play. Tucker, kind of a mixture, dribbling some upside, Malik some upside. Yeah, I think the receiver room's solid overall. The running back room is I think the running back room is fine, and then the quarterback room is the only, like, kinda weakness I see. But I think running back's good enough, receiver's pretty good, and then tight end, obviously, with the elite, that helps. Like, tight end, you only need the 2, and if Kittle misses, you don't really worry about it. So I think pretty solid team overall. No, like, super weaknesses. I think it's decently balanced overall. But obviously, like, maybe a little bit more at QB, like I was saying, but I think that's debatable even. QB is also, like, 2 starters, if they don't get hurt, you're usually pretty much good with 2 starters, so, um alright, and then Danimal, 3-4-8-3, so hyper fragile. Pat Mahomes, Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, solid QB room, all 3 starters, not gonna get benched. Mahomes, hopefully some upside a little bit later in the year. And obviously Stafford was just the MVP, he has some upside. Bijan, Jeremiah Love, Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson. I think that's good for a 4 RB build. I think that Ramondre range is, like, around where he goes until, like, around, like, in the 80s or so, maybe in the 90s. I think that's kind of the limit for the 4 RB builds, at least to me, for me personally, or I'll start getting, a little bit too uncomfortable with them. But I think, 3 straight and then Ramondre as a 4th, that feels good. The only downside was Ramondre and Bijan did overlap on bye week, so you only have 2 that week, but that's fine as long as they're not hurt, as long as your guys are healthy. Maybe it hurts your, like, that week a little bit, but as long as they're both playing, you're fine. I think the RB room's totally good to stop at 4, though. DJ Moore, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Stefon Diggs, Jeremy Bernard, Isaac Tesla, Ted Hurst, Christian Kirk. Decent top 3. I like Diggs a lot where he goes. I think he kinda gives you some safety in this room. Should be a riser once he signs. Then just kinda some young guys, upside swings, and then also Kirk is an upside swing. But Jeremy, Tesla, Ted Hurst, all kinda upside swings. Kelsey, Henry, Chig at tight end. I think the tight end room's solid. I think the receiver room is pretty solid overall. Could struggle a little bit with, like, floor, like DK and DJ Moore have a little bit higher variance. Um Could struggle a little bit with floor some weeks, especially early with so many young guys later, but I think overall it's a solid enough receiver room, and I think, you should be able to get through with these top 4 guys until your younger guys start coming on a little bit later in the year, and maybe even Kirk is another one of those guys who can, like, really help chaperone it early in the year, and then later in the year, maybe if Stribling takes over a little bit more, that's fine because Jeremy and Tesla and Hurst are taking over in their offenses, right? Um yeah, no, I think solid team, solid hyper fragile, definitely a good enough running back room to stop at 4. Uh, yeah, solid overall. And then let's look at Hockey Hooligan. If I missed anyone at all, let me know before I sign off. I'll check it out. If not, we'll sign off. Um, after I check out Hockey Hooligans. Taki Logan 2673, Drake May, Joe Burrow, great QB room, doubled it. Okay, yeah, he was in here. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I thought he wasn't. Yeah, Drake May, Joe Burrow, great QB room. Previon, David Montgomery, Chris Rodriguez, Isaiah Pacheco, Dylan Sampson, Alvin Kamara. Decent RB room, top 2 should give you consistent touches. C-Rod, you hope he has a good role. Last 3 guys, kinda more contingent upside. Maybe Pacheco has a role, but maybe a little standalone from them, but mostly just contingent. Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy, Romeo Doubs, Tank Dell, Dontavian Wicks. Pretty solid receiver room overall. I like the top 3 a lot. Really, really strong top 3. Worthy, maybe some spike weeks. Dobbs gives you a little floor, maybe some spikes on the Patriots offense, though. Dell, late season upside, Wicks, maybe some spike. Laporta, likely Theo, doubling up on the Giants tight ends. Um, I think that's fine, I think with Laporta, like, you could have stopped at Laporta and likely, so adding on Theo doesn't hurt at all. Um, Tight end room's solid overall, receiver room's really strong. RB maybe use a little bit more help on, like, the 3rd or 4th RB being a little bit better. But I think it's fine, it's totally serviceable. And then the QBs are really strong, obviously. So definitely a solid team overall. Alright, so I'll catch back up on the comments, and then we're gonna head out. If you guys do wanna watch another stream, though, Huhaim's live right now, so check him out. Yeah, I'll catch up with you guys, and then I'm gonna dip out. No, please don't draft Bucky, allow me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, not in my rooms, you're not getting Bucky in that 6th round, I'll be taking him every time. We're talking about Dynasty Fantasy Monster. Oh, yeah, yeah, early, yeah, yeah. 2026 Bucky is cool, 6th round, agree. 11 Chuck got sniped, was expecting to get Chuck back. Okay, yeah, fair enough. No, it's tough with the QBs, like, yeah, oh, right, because that's the one you went, Dimes and Tua. Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, sometimes you just don't get the guys back, so that's totally fair. Becker, Mayer, or T-Ferg were my decisions. Yeah, I picked a little more Beck than, or Betch, however you say his name. I picked more of him than Mayer. I do like T-Ferg a lot, though. I picked a decent amount of him, but, yeah, spreading the bet isn't bad. I mean, Mayer's been serviceable and he can get on the field. Thanks, Hartman. Could be my first Sharps in about 500 drafts. Oh, all right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, I maybe I went a little bit too hard hating the Sharps, but if you're a fellow hater, then I can give you some leeway on the one share. But no, your team was solid, and like I said, I'm kind of nitpicking because like I didn't see any teams out of the ones I looked at, any of the teams today where I thought any of them were really bad or had, like, very clear, like, huge mistakes on the capital or anything like that. There's some player takes I have on some of the guys, but I think overall, like, pretty much everyone I saw today and most people in general who draft a lot, they just build solid, well-constructed teams in general, So there's usually it's more nitpicking, if anything, and, kind of more opinions. Like, your team looked pretty solid. Sharp is fun. Got a bag in pre-draft and take him when he falls 170, 180 range post-draft. Yeah, I'll take him on sometimes on, like, really robust running back builds because, you're just getting that late season upside from him. I'll take him here and there, but I don't love him. I like him on certain builds very specifically, and now especially that he's starting to fall into that 170, 180 range. I guess if he comes back in the season, he's a smash. Oh, for sure, he could be, and there is risk for him, if Price is, like, the truth, he was a first-round pick, he could really take away a ton of Sharp's work, if like, I don't know if Sharps comes back and Price, we just don't know how good Price is gonna be, and we know that they like to use Sharps on the goal line. They use Sharps some as a receiver. So, he really could be a good pick late. I just think I like to put him on certain build types, but with him falling, that definitely does open it up a lot more to take Sharp on different build types. Um There's no guys back there in that 30 upside, even if in theory, totally agree. Late in the season, he can really help him. And yeah, as late as he's starting to go, it's starting to be where you can fit him on a lot of different build types. Um, I do think Manny Wilson also has that upside of sharp injuries recover or if Price sucks or gets hurt too. I can definitely agree with that. Like, I yeah, I can definitely agree with that 100%. I think Price will get the first crack at it just given his draft capital unless he really is terrible in camp. But Manuel Wilson will probably be on the field a good chunk week 1, and if he just is beating out Price, that could happen. That wouldn't be the craziest thing ever, right? the Seahawks draft a round 1 RB who doesn't exactly pan out. I think we've seen that story before. Gonna start getting some shares of him in weekly winners. I That's a good format for sure, definitely. Weekly winners, just play it late for sure. Wilson is cheat coding a limb though. Um, yeah, because 'cause he'll probably get some early season run, definitely. I'm easily convinced. Yeah. Yeah, no, hey, we're trying to give you the best info we can think of. But, hopefully it's the good info. Hopefully it's the good info. I love Wilson. They don't seem like the franchise to give a rookie some huge workload. Um, yeah, no, I agree. I think early on, like, Wilson will definitely be on the field. I think Wilson will have a chance. Price will have a chance. I think Kalani will be a little bit more stuck, like, just changing pace and stuff, maybe a little bit receiving work for Kalani. But I think Kalani might be a little bit more like change of pace guy regardless of who takes over the job. I think though Wilson or Price have a chance. I think Price obviously has the inside track, but when you're paying 100 pick higher price on Price, um, there's definitely an argument that Wilson can be a good pick and could provide some good value. Without Kubiak too, yeah, that definitely hurts the offense as a whole. The offense might be less creative, along with Super Bowl hangover is something very realistic. Totally agree. I can see their points per game go from that 28 range closer to 22 to 24 and lean on defense more. Yeah, I think I 100% agree with that, especially losing Kubiak, like you said. And yeah, just having Mike McDonald, maybe he kind of has like more control now overall their like system, and just less creativity overall, like less play action passing off the run. They're trying to just go more like just pound the rock, doing less creative stuff off of it, helping Darnold like get guys open less, giving them less like layups. But yeah, I totally agree. Uh, Thanks for the great stream. Hey, appreciate it, Daniel. What's up, bro? Hey, what's up, C Money? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Unfortunately, we're about to end. Hopefully, you already hopped over to Whoham stream. If you didn't already, there's the link. You went live just a little bit ago. But thanks everyone for stopping by. Appreciate it. I'll be back. I think tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then Tuesday. But I'll make the stream in the morning if I'm back tomorrow. So if you want to rip some football drafts, then we'll be back. You can rip some here. Thanks everyone for stopping by. Peace.